The story begins with a determined step. A young man is dashing through the city streets, clearly in a hurry for something important. This is Ju In-gong. As his name, which literally means protagonist, suggests, he is the hero of our story, and right now he's on a mission. He bursts into a local game shop, where his friends greet him with excitement. They've been waiting for him. Ju In-gong eagerly asks if they have the game he's been waiting for. His friend playfully teases him before confirming that he saved a copy just for him. And there it is, the remake of the legendary game, Night Saga RE. The game introduces a classic fantasy world. Ju In-gong is thrilled to see the familiar setting, where a party of heroes bands together for adventure. It's a game where you choose between the human hero, lock and fight for justice, or they can walk a darker path. The game also allows you to side with the forces of darkness, and play as the Demon King's eldest son, the formidable Zephyr Ragnaros. Back in his room, Ju In-gong is completely absorbed, his face lit up by the screen as he dives into the world he loves. But this time, it's different. This isn't just a game on a screen. He puts on his advanced VR helmet, ready for full immersion. With the game in hand, he walks over to his high-tech gaming chair, ready to leave the real world behind. He takes out the Night Saga game cartridge, the key to his new adventure. He settles into his chair and fits the VR helmet snugly over his head. With a satisfying click, he inserts the cartridge into the console. Everything is set. He crosses his arms, a confident smile playing on his lips, ready to conquer the game. I'll take it easy today, he thinks to himself with a grin, and only play for 8 hours. For a dedicated gamer like him, that's just a warm-up. As he initiates the game, his world is consumed by a brilliant flash of light. The dive begins. But as the light fades, he doesn't see a menu screen. Instead, he's looking up at a grand, unfamiliar ceiling. Before he can even process his surroundings, a gruff voice cuts through the air. A massive orc is staring right at him, completely baffled. Ju In-gong is even more shocked. He's not playing as the hero Locke or the demon Zephyr. He has become a young boy with white hair and red eyes. He realizes with a start that he can understand and even speak to the NPCs, something that was never advertised. Trying to get his bearings in this unervingly realistic world, Ju In-gong asks for the orc's name. The reply is anything but scripted. The orc, who introduces himself as Karak, seems genuinely annoyed that he could have forgotten, adding to Ju In-gong's growing sense of unease. Karak's subsequent look of concern and suspicion sends a chill down his spine. The way the orc peers at him from behind a curtain isn't an animation loop. It's a look of genuine worry. The realization begins to dawn on Ju In-gong that this is no longer a game. The reality of his situation sinks in. Ju In-gong realizes he has been forced into the body of Shutra Ignis, the Demon King's 9th son. He's bewildered. He never even got to a character selection screen. Falling back on his gamer instincts, Ju In-gong makes a familiar gesture, trying to pull up the status window to get some answers. And it works. A status window flickers into existence, confirming his new identity. Shutra Ignis, a level 1, 14-year-old Gonnerv prince. But his relief turns to despair as he examines his stats. Every single one is a pathetic 5 points. He can't believe it. Even a common NPC has higher stats than this supposed prince. He then notices his skills. One gives him a flicker of hope. Protagonist setting adjustment. He smirks, wondering if this is the game's version of plot armor. His inspection is cut short as Karak yells for him to come out from behind the curtain. Ju In-gong, still processing everything, obediently follows Karak out into the open. The world outside the tent is a military camp, leaving Ju In-gong utterly bewildered. Trying to lighten the mood with his protagonist's skill in mind, he jokes about the tense, warlike atmosphere. Karak is not amused and bluntly tells him to get serious. Karak drops a bombshell. They are heading out to eliminate the Scarlet Lightning bastards. Ju In-gong is horrified. This isn't a tutorial. He's been thrown directly into a conflict. The enemy, the Scarlet Lightning tribe, is an army of fierce, red-skinned orcs led by the ruthless General Kaichon. They have staged a military uprising. Ju In-gong is stunned to learn that as the 9th prince, he is expected to resolve this crisis alongside the 7th and 8th princesses. He questions why they are only taking 10 people to a war, but Karak corrects him, saying it's just a patrol, a detail Shutra should have known from the previous day. Karak's suspicion grows. He asks Ju In-gong if he ate something bad, because his memory loss and strange behavior are becoming more and more concerning. As they march, Ju In-gong's gamer instincts kick in again when he sees a minimap interface appear in his vision. His eyes light up. Thanks to his extensive knowledge of Night Saga, he recognizes a hidden path on the map. He immediately thinks it must be a secret event. While Karak struggles to navigate with a physical map, Ju In-gong confidently steps forward, declaring that he knows a much faster route. Karak can only stare in confusion. Trusting his game knowledge, he leads the orc patrol through the dense forest. The orcs, including Karak, follow their strange, amnesiac prince without question. The hidden path is not easy, forcing the patrol to scale steep, rocky cliffs. The physical exertion is too much for his weak level 1 body. Ju In-gong is sweating and panting heavily, feeling the real-world consequences of his low stamina stat. Finally, his knowledge pays off. He leads the group to a hidden entrance carved into the mountainside. Karak is astonished by the discovery, asking how Ju In-gong could have found this place and wondering if he's a mage. Still gasping for air, Ju In-gong dismisses the idea, too exhausted to explain his gamer knowledge. Seeing him struggling to breathe, Karak asks with genuine concern if he's alright. Ju In-gong laments the harsh reality of his stats, muttering that he never knew a level 1 character could be this physically unfit as they approach the hidden dwarven gate. As they reach the dwarven gate, Ju In-gong, still catching his breath, starts to give orders based on what he remembers from the game. Suddenly, before he can finish his sentence, his body is engulfed in a brilliant, fiery aura. He looks on in shock, completely clueless as to what is happening to him. A system message flashes before his eyes. "You have leveled up." He can't believe it. He stares at his interface in disbelief. He actually gained a level just from walking. This absurd reality is both baffling and intriguing. Shaking off his surprise, he hurries to follow Karak and the other orcs inside the cave. He gives himself a small pep talk. At least he isn't alone. More importantly, his gamer heart pounds in anticipation of the loot he's sure to find. The cave opens into a vast, dark cavern, promising hidden dangers and treasures. Relying on his game lore, he confidently states that the cave must have been dug by dwarves. Karak is confused, retorting that there aren't any dwarves allied with them. A few steps further, and his prediction is proven right in the most spectacular way. The cavern is filled with a massive horde of dwarven weapons and treasure chests. Karak is left speechless. The other orcs roar in celebration, shouting that they've struck gold as they eagerly grab powerful new axes and shields. They celebrate their good fortune, mocking the stupid dwarves for leaving behind such a valuable armory. Ju In-gong, however, remains silent. His eyes are fixed on the high-tier weapons scattered on the ground, his gamer senses tingling. But as he tries to equip them, his hopes are dashed. System messages pop up one after another, all saying the same thing. His level, strength, and magic are all insufficient. He doesn't give up. If he can't wield them, he can still store them. He tries to access his inventory, remembering that all he needs to do is touch an item and think about taking it. Just as he's about to start hoarding, something on his interface catches his eye, giving him a sudden sense of dread. At the same moment, the orcs guarding the entrance sense something is wrong. Suddenly, a massive explosion rips through the cave entrance. They've been ambushed. The blast throws his orc allies through the air like ragdolls, sending the cavern into chaos. A figure steps through the dust and rubble. The red skin and formidable stature leave no doubt. The Scarlet Lightning tribe has found them. A brutal battle immediately erupts as Kaiken's forces storm the cave, clashing with Karak's patrol. The fight is a desperate, bloody struggle for survival. Armed with nothing but a flimsy wooden sword, Ju In-gong finds himself in the middle of the slaughter, completely out of his league. He watches in horror as one of his orc companions is struck down right before his eyes. Panic floods his mind. What can he possibly do? A cold, calculating gamer instinct cuts through the fear. If he can't fight, maybe he can at least steal their kills and get some EXP. Stealing his nerves, Ju In-gong decides to act. He spots an enemy orc already wounded and engaged with one of his allies and rushes in for a kill steal. With a desperate battle cry, he brings his wooden sword down with all his might. But his attack is utterly pathetic. The flimsy wooden sword shatters on impact, leaving him stunned and defenseless. The massive Scarlet Lightning orc slowly turns its head, its glowing red eyes locking onto the foolish boy who dared to strike it. Just then, the enemy general, Kai-chan, makes his presence known with a powerful stomp that shakes the cavern floor. Kai-chan lets out a terrifying war cry, rallying his troops and throwing Ju In-gong into a state of pure panic. Ju In-gong can only scream in terror as the chaos and violence escalate around him. Just as an enemy closes in, a massive green form intercepts the blow. Karak has come to his rescue. He looks up to see the loyal orc standing over him protectively. Karak single-handedly holds back the tide of enemies, fighting with a ferocity that Ju In-gong could only dream of. He can't take it anymore. He decides to log out, frantically searching for the menu button. This is too scary, too real. He glances at his status window one more time. Even after leveling up, his stats are still pitifully low. As he desperately scans the interface, his eyes widen in dawning horror. The chilling realization hits him like a physical blow. There is no menu. There is no logout option. He is trapped. While he sits frozen in shock, he's spotted by the enemy commander. Kai-chan sees the defenseless prince and decides to end it. Kai-chan gathers a powerful aura, channeling energy for a devastating attack. He unleashes a massive blast of energy, aimed directly at the horrified Ju In-gong. The full force of the attack slams into him. His health plummets to critical levels. The thought of dying here, for real, terrifies him. He collapses, gasping for air, the pain and fear completely overwhelming him. Kai-chan, seeing his prey is down but not out, charges forward to deliver the final killing blow. With his enemy looming over him and no way to escape, Ju In-gong, from the darkness, Shutra Ignis appears, floating alone in the strange, purple-hued void. He looks around, completely bewildered. He wonders aloud, "Where is this place? I'm sure I was taken down by the orcs." A horrifying thought crosses his mind as his eyes widen in terror. "Don't tell me? Am I dead?" Just then, a sound echoes through the void. Shutra is startled by a mysterious voice that declares, "You are the fated existence of this place." A radiant, goddess-like figure with flowing blonde hair appears before him, reaching out as if to bestow a great power. Shutra can only look on in utter shock, completely taken aback by the sudden appearance of this divine being. He is suddenly enveloped in a blindingly bright golden light, a powerful energy surging all around him. The scene abruptly shifts to a chaotic battlefield where green-skinned orcs clash violently with red-skinned demons. The red demons are overwhelming their opponents, slaughtering the green orcs with ferocious brutality. From the ranks of the red demons, their menacing leader, Kai-chan, emerges, observing the battle. Kai-chan scoffs at the small number of his enemies, sneering, "Are they ignorant or just stupid?" Shutra suddenly finds himself on the battlefield. Facing him, Kai-chan gives a chilling order to his troops. "There's no need to waste time. Kill them all." A golden aura begins to flare up around Shutra as he stands his ground against the demonic horde. A system window suddenly appears before one has been acquired. He looks at the notification in disbelief, wondering when he could have possibly learned telekinesis, before a sudden realization hits him. Enraged, Kai-chan points directly at Shutra and screams, "What are you all doing? Kill that bastard at once." However, one of the large green orcs on Shutra's side looks back, not with aggression, but with confusion, muttering, "P-Prince." Instantly, the tide turns. The orcs and other monsters rally together, roaring, "Protect the prince! The prince must not be harmed." Shutra's allied monsters form a protective wall around him, shielding their newly revealed prince from the enemy forces. As Shutra tries to make sense of the situation, another system window materializes, assigning him the subclass, Knight of Conquest. He stares in shock, knowing that the Knight of Conquest isn't a class available to normal knights, deepening the mystery of his new existence. As if in response to his new class, a brilliant sword made of pure golden lightning materializes in Shutra's hand. His eyes gleam with fierce determination as a new truth dawns on him. The power of conquest shall be the power of a king. He leaps into the air and raises his celestial blade, unleashing a wave of golden light over his monster troops. They roar in unison, charging forward as they rally under the king's banner. The orcs are shocked as the golden light envelopes them. A system window explains the effect of the conquest skill. It provides a buff to all allies within a designated area. One of the orcs roars with power, exclaiming, My strength is overflowing. United and empowered, the orcs charge forward with renewed vigor, determined to sweep them all up. The buffed orcs tear through the red demon lines, completely turning the tide of the battle with their newfound strength. The battlefield is a scene of utter domination as the empowered green orcs decimate the once superior red demon forces. From a distance, Kai-chan and his subordinates watch in horror. He yells out in disbelief, they suddenly got stronger. Staring with wide, shocked eyes, the demon general can only think to himself, this is absurd. Kai-chan frantically scans the battlefield, trying to pinpoint the source of this sudden and impossible power-up. His eyes land on Shutra, still kneeling amidst the golden aura, and he realizes the terrifying truth. Could it be him? An enemy mage unleashes a powerful magical assault directly at Shutra, screaming, "You bastard! Stop this at once!" Shutra looks up, his expression cold and resolute, completely unfazed by the incoming attack. But before the spell can reach him, a massive orc with white, top-knotted hair leaps in front of Shutra, bracing himself to block the attack. The attack harmlessly dissipates against the loyal orc's body. Shutra gives him a slight, approving nod. With newfound authority, Shutra points towards the enemy general and commands his powerful new ally, "Go, Karak!" Karak roars and leaps into action. Kai-chan is frozen in fear as Karak, shrouded in the prince's golden aura, descends upon him. The demon general's confidence shatters, and he desperately pleads, "Wait a second!" But it's too late. With a single, swift strike, Karak decapitates the enemy leader. Kaiken's head hits the ground, his expression of terror frozen on his face. The remaining red demons look on in stunned silence. Panic erupts, and the red demons begin to flee for their lives. Shutra calmly issues an order to his victorious troops, "Don't let a single one escape." Following the victory, system messages flood Shutra's vision, explaining that the general's merits are for his king. He has leveled up multiple times. Shutra looks at the barrage of level-up notifications, completely surprised by his rapid growth. He lets out a satisfied chuckle, pleased with the outcome, as Karak stands by his side. Karak looks down at his own hands, still glowing with residual energy, and wonders, what exactly is the strength? He turns and looks back at the small prince, the undeniable source of their victory, his mind racing to comprehend what just happened. A look of awe dawns on Karak's face as he makes the connection. He understands that this miraculous power could only have come from their prince, solidifying his loyalty as the battle concludes. Later that night, back at the victorious orc encampment, the troops rest and recover from the battle. Inside his tent, Shutra frantically searches through the system menu, a wave of panic washing over him. It's gone. No matter how much I search, I can't find it. There's no logout button. He forces himself to take a breath, trying to calm his racing heart. He reasons that there must be a logical explanation and considers two possibilities. He thinks about the second, more insane possibility, that this is no longer a game but his new reality. His situation feels just like the plots of the Issekai novels and comics he used to read, where the protagonist enters the world of a game or something very much like it. He weighs the evidence, the hyper-realistic background, and the fact that the so-called NPCs can hold complex conversations. His final, undeniable proof comes with a nervous glance down at his own body. There's no mosaic censorship. This is all too real. Just as the weight of his new reality sets in, he is startled by Karak appearing at the entrance of his tent. "Prince, do you have some time?" Shutra looks up to see Karak standing there with a stoic, unreadable expression. Outside, under the starry night sky, Shutra questions his second-in-command. "Why are you suddenly demanding a sparring match?" Karak explains that since Shutra is now his leader, knowing his swordsmanship level is necessary to prepare for the future. Shutra seems hesitant about the idea. He awkwardly holds the practice sword he's been given, clearly uncomfortable. Seeing his prince's hesitation, Karak tries to offer some reassurance, though it comes out as patronizing. "Don't worry. I'll hold back as much as I can." Shutra's expression immediately darkens. Offended by the orc's lack of respect, he smirks and asks, "Is that the kind of thing you say to a prince?" Filled with indignation, Shutra charges forward, sword raised, demanding, "If you're going to fight, then do it seriously." Karak calmly raises his own weapon, effortlessly preparing to block the prince's sloppy attack. Shutra swings wildly, but the massive orc is completely unimpressed by the amateurish display. His pathetic attempts to strike the orc are completely ineffective, his sword bouncing harmlessly off Karak's massive frame. He even resorts to throwing a rock, which simply bounces off Karak's head. The orc remains stoic and unimpressed. Having had enough, Karak decides to get serious, easily parrying Shutra's sword with a powerful swing of his own. Shutra is knocked to the ground. Karak rushes to his side, asking if he's alright but also chiding him. Come on, you shouldn't hit that hard all of a sudden. But as he sits on the ground, a familiar ding echoes, and a system window appears before a confused Shutra. Basic swordsmanship LV1 has been acquired. He stares at the notification in total shock. Did I just acquire swordsmanship? But when? His mind flashes back to the moment he acquired telekinesis. He wasn't practicing it. He was under immense pressure. An electrifying thought connects the two events, and it all starts to make sense. His shock morphs into a grin of understanding as he deciphers the cheat code to this world. He acquires skills by directly experiencing them with his own body. A new path to power has just been unlocked. Seeing the prince on the ground, Karak suggests they end the sparring match for the day. But from the ground, Shutra's defiant voice cuts him off. Who said it's over? Karak turns back, surprised. Shutra now stands tall, his fear and uncertainty replaced by a confident, predatory grin. He has discovered the secret to gaining power in this new world, and he is ready to embrace the pain to become stronger. Continuing from the previous chapter, Shutra Ignis rushes forward, his movements now filled with a newfound power and confidence as he charges towards his enemy. He clashes with a massive orc soldier, his blade meeting the enemy's tough skin with a powerful impact, showcasing his dramatically improved combat skills. Watching from the side, Shutra's loyal ally, the orc named Karak, observes the fight with a hint of surprise, noting internally that the prince's movements are much better now. Shutra, fueled by his game knowledge and new abilities, questions why his opponent was so terrible at the beginning. He realizes it's not that his own skill suddenly got better, but something else has changed. The two continue their fierce battle, their blades clashing under the dark sky. Shutra lands gracefully, his determination burning in his eyes. He has successfully defeated the orc. Feeling proud of his victory, Shutra confidently turns to his ally and asks, "How's that? Not bad, right? Karak, what level are you?" Karak, standing with his back to Shutra, replies that the last time he checked, he was level 21. Shutra quietly repeats the number, looking at his own status screen. His status window reveals his information. Name, Shutra Ignis. Age, 14. Species, Gandharv. Note, Prince. And his current level is only 7. He calmly thinks that he should be able to catch up soon enough. Shutra reflects on the world's mechanics. Everyone in this world has levels, a concept he is very familiar with from his past life as a gamer. However, he has a unique advantage. While others need to use a special level evaluation spell to check their status, he can see his instantly through a status window. This means he has the great advantage of being able to see all his stats and reinforce them using extra points, a cheat-like ability in this world. With this realization, Shutra leaps back into action, his confidence soaring. He dodges another one of the orc's attacks. He corrects himself with even greater conviction. No, I can become stronger much faster than the others. This is the beginning of his plan to exploit his unique knowledge. The scene pulls back, showing the battlefield before transitioning to the title card for Breakers, Chapter 3. The story delves into Shutra's game knowledge, specifically, the Demon Arc of Night Saga. This arc from the game follows the story of a character named Zephyr, and how he surpasses his siblings to become the fearsome Demon King. An ominous image depicts the Demon King Zephyr, surrounded by his demonic followers, reaching for the crown that symbolizes his absolute power. Shutra recalls a critical detail from the game's lore. This event, the rise of the Demon King, happens in year 517. Returning to the present, Shutra sits alone in the woods. He understands the terrifying implication. Zephyr kills all of his siblings to achieve his goal, and as a prince himself, that means he is also destined to be killed. His thoughts are interrupted as Karak finds him. "Prince, what are you doing here? I've been looking for ya everywhere." Shutra, startled from his deep thoughts, asks if something happened. Karak reminds him, "Did you forget that there's a meeting today?" Shutra looks back, confused by the word meeting. Karak urges him to hurry, explaining that everyone is waiting. Shutra remains visibly puzzled, as this sudden meeting wasn't part of the original game events he so clearly remembered. After a quick journey through a military camp, Shutra arrives inside a large tent for the meeting. To his surprise, two imposing figures, his half-siblings whom he's never met, are already there. The larger of the two, a muscular man with long blonde hair, looks at him and stutters, "Why, you're early." The muscular man, formally introduced as the seventh Prince Chris Moonlight, smiles warmly at Shutra. He tells him to be comfortable, reminding him that they are siblings and there's no need for politeness. The woman with him, the eighth Princess Caitlin Moonlight, points out that this is their first time meeting, justifying Shutra's formal demeanor. Chris insists it's all right and tells Shutra to just call them by their names. Shutra awkwardly agrees. He recalls that these two are the children of Elaine Moonlight, the fourth queen and the queen of the lycanthropes. Despite their friendly appearance, Shutra's internal monologue reveals a different memory. A menacing image of his siblings flashes in his mind. He remembers that in the Game Night Saga, Chris and Caitlin were a real pain. However, he also recalls a critical event. Caitlin is destined to die a year before the prophesied day of massacre. As Caitlin sips her tea gracefully, Shutra remembers the specific reason for her early demise. The secret of her birth. The secret, a crucial piece of his game knowledge, is that Caitlin is a bastard daughter, a fact that will ultimately lead to her death. The real-life Caitlin suddenly breaks his train of thought, her tone shifting to a scolding one. "Why did you fight those guys without following the plan? I told you to just go on patrol," she chides. Shutra nervously explains he didn't know they'd come from there. Caitlin's expression softens slightly as she says, "Let's take a look at you," her eyes scanning him for injuries. She leans in close, asking with genuine concern if he's hurt anywhere. Shutra is taken aback by this unexpected display of sisterly care. Grabbing his chin to get a better look, Caitlin reprimands him. "You're the weakest of us all. You should have been careful." A flustered Shutra can only apologize. Shutra is completely bewildered. Why is she worried about me? He thinks. Since when are the Demon King's children this close? This reality is vastly different from the game he knew. Chris joins in on the scolding, warning Shutra that he's in for it if he does something so dangerous again. Shutra meekly agrees. Looking at his two siblings, who are showing genuine concern for his well-being, Shutra can't help but wonder, what the hell? Are they actually kind? A moment of contemplation. Shutra processes this new, conflicting information, his expression thoughtful. A new plan begins to form in Shutra's mind. He recalls that lycanthropes, like Chris, are known for their powerful aura due to their life force. If I use the same method I used to get skills, he thinks, maybe I'll be able to learn aura as easily too. Putting his new plan into motion, Shutra turns to his siblings and says, "Hey, I have a favor to ask." Chris looks at him, puzzled. Both Chris and Caitlin stare back, their expressions turning to shock and disbelief at his audacious request. The scene then cuts away from the tent. The story shifts to a desolate, mountainous landscape under a blood-red sky, hinting at a massive battle taking place elsewhere. On this chaotic battlefield, orcs are locked in a brutal civil war. An explosion sends a soldier flying. An aerial view shows the sheer scale of the conflict, with green-skinned and red-skinned orcs clashing violently as explosions rock the battlefield. A large, powerful orc general carves a path through his enemies, his weapons swinging in a deadly arc. From behind a powerful, cloaked figure, his soldiers let out a mighty war cry, charging into the fray. This powerful figure, a hulking brute of a red-skinned orc, effortlessly crushes an enemy soldier under his powerful grip, establishing his fearsome reputation on the battlefield. He punches straight through another foe, a display of the overwhelming power that defines the one who will soon be introduced as General Bandal. The terrifying red-skinned general, now introduced as General Bandal, glares down at a cowering enemy soldier who shrieks in fear. With a powerful roar, General Bandal brings his massive weapon down, creating a devastating shockwave that tears through the enemy ranks. He bellows a command to his troops, "Kill them all! I will reward the one who gets the most kills." Inspired by their general's promise, the green-skinned orcs let out a deafening war cry and charge forward with renewed ferocity. The battle continues to rage, the landscape littered with explosions and the clash of the two warring orc tribes. The scene suddenly shifts. Shutra finds himself standing alone in a dark, empty void, when a beam of light reveals a mysterious, glowing entity before him. A beautiful, goddess-like figure with long white hair descends from the light. Shutra watches in confusion as she appears behind him. Shadowy figures of powerful warriors appear alongside the goddess. A bewildered Shutra asks, "Who are you?" As the goddess places a hand on his shoulder, Shutra thinks to himself that he doesn't recall any of these characters from the Night Saga game. A jolt of light startles him, causing him to cry out in surprise. Shutra's eyes snap open. He's lying in bed, realizing the encounter with the goddess was just a dream. He sits up, clutching his head, completely disoriented as he asks himself, "Did I just dream?" Suddenly, Karak's face appears right beside him, asking, "Ya up?" Shutra screams in fright. Shutra jumps back in terror, yelling that Karak scared him. The large orc simply looks at him and calmly states, "You seem fine." Karak then gets to the point, asking directly, "Why'd you ask the princess to hit ya?" He adds that Shutra kept whining until she finally did it. As Karak speaks, Shutra feels a change within him. A system window pops up, confirming his plan was a success. You have obtained Aura LV1. An aura of power now surrounds Shutra. He clutches his chest, exclaiming with excitement, I feel it. I can feel the aura." Karak looks on, amazed. "Can you awaken your aura if you get hit with it?" he asks. Shutra, looking smug, replies, "Well, somewhat." Now fully awake and back to his strategic self, Shutra asks Karak, "Did anything happen while I was sleeping?" Karak confirms that yes, something did. Karak delivers the news. The main force won against the Lightning Tribe 2. Shutra is visibly confused by the term main force. Shutra questions him further, saying he thought he, Chris, and Caitlin were the only ones sent to take down the tribe. Karak dismisses this, noting the tribe's massive size. Shutra then asks who was in charge of this main force. Karak reveals the commander's name, General Bandal. Shutra reacts with complete shock, repeating the name in disbelief. Shutra recalls that General Bandal is one of the strongest characters in the world of Night Saga. He remembers how much he liked using Bandal as a subordinate when he played as the main villain, Zephyr. A critical realization hits him. Wait, this might be my chance. He recalls a vital piece of the game's timeline. Bandal only becomes Zephyr's subordinate in the year 515. With the current year being 512, Shutra understands the opportunity before him. He isn't Zephyr's subordinate yet, he thinks, a determined glint in his eye, which means I can take him for myself first. A cunning smile spreads across Shutra's face. Thanks to his past life as an obsessive gamer, he knows everything there is to know about General Bandal. But most importantly, he knows the single most critical requirement for bringing the powerful general to his side. You have to defeat him in a one-on-one duel. Armed with this crucial insider information, Shutra feels a surge of confidence. He firmly believes he can succeed in making Bandal his subordinate before his fated rival Zephyr even has a chance. With his eyes gleaming with ambition, Shutra sets his first major goal in this new world. First, Bandal. He vows internally, "You're gonna be my subordinate." The scene opens on a military encampment under a daytime sky, with large tents and flags bearing a golden eagle emblem. A text box labels the location as Caitlin's camp. Inside one of the tents, the muscular, blonde-haired Chris Moonlight looks shocked. He exclaims in disbelief at Shutra, who is holding a glowing ball of energy, questioning how he could have reached the first level of aura expulsion in just a single day. In the background, Princess Caitlin looks on with a curious expression. Shutra smirks confidently, his red eyes gleaming. He boasts that this much is a given, since he put all of his available points into his aura stat. He continues his explanation, stating that it wasn't a rash decision. He knows that aura improves one's physical capabilities in general, making it a better investment than a skill like telekinesis. Chris is still finding it hard to believe. He mutters that it should be impossible and wonders if Shutra's rapid progress is because he's a Gandharv. Changing the subject, Chris then asks Shutra if he can also make an underground map. Shutra replies that while he can't create one out of thin air, he does have his own minimap to reference. He says it's simple enough and asks for a pen and paper. Later, a highly detailed map is spread across a wooden table. Chris looks at it in astonishment, exclaiming that it's far more detailed than the one he currently possesses. An impressed Chris slings his arm around Shutra, calling him a genius. Shutra just responds with a slightly awkward laugh. Chris and Caitlin discuss their new strategic advantage. They note that since the Scarlet Lightning tribe members who came across are all dead, their enemies don't know about the underground tunnels. This gives them a prime opportunity for an ambush. With a new plan in mind, Caitlin turns to Shutra, telling him there's something else she needs him to do. Shutra looks back at her, curious. The scene shifts to a lush, mountainous region under a bright, sunny sky. Shutra is now leading a squad of orcs on a patrol mission through a forest path. He sighs, lamenting that, as the youngest of his siblings, he has no choice but to take on this task. One of the orcs comments that it's a good thing they have reinforcements, attributing it to their hard work. Another orc scoffs at the remark. Suddenly, Shutra is taken aback as two mysterious figures in dark, hooded robes block his path. Shutra stares in surprise as he recognizes the figures. It's his sister, Caitlin, and her adjutant. He hesitantly calls out to his sister. He asks what's with the robe, but Caitlin quickly shushes him, explaining that she's following him in secret, just in case something happens. Caitlin looks at him with a serious but caring expression, her golden eyes focused on him. She clarifies that she will only step in if things become really dangerous, as this needs to be his own accomplishment. Shutra thinks to himself, questioning if she's stupid for supporting him like this, but then wonders if it can truly be called his accomplishment under these circumstances. Shutra turns to Caitlin's companion, a blonde girl with glasses also wearing a robe, and introduces himself. She nervously replies, introducing herself as Syra, the adjutant. Caitlin tells Shutra not to worry and that they'll keep up with him. He simply replies with an all right. The scene changes, showing the dark, foreboding entrance to an underground cavern system. Shutra and his orc squad make their way through the desolate stone tunnels, which appear to be completely empty. He wonders aloud why all the caverns are deserted. Looking at some discarded crates and furniture, Shutra explains the logical reason for the emptiness, stating that no one leaves valuables behind when moving and assumes the dwarves took everything. When one of his orc companions asks what about the weapons they acquired last time, Shutra looks back and theorizes that those items simply weren't considered valuable enough to take, leaving the group to ponder what other secrets the abandoned caverns might hold. Continuing deeper into the dark cavern, Shutra and his squad of orcs press forward, with one orc lighting the way with a torch. Karak, the large white-haired orc, stops and tells the prince he thinks something is coming their way. Shutra, standing beside him, agrees, saying he hears it too. Wasting no time, Shutra accesses his game-like interface, calling up his inventory. He mentally prepares, thinking about the flash spell item he brought along just in case a situation like this occurred. The item, a small potion, is highlighted in his inventory. Shutra pulls the potion from his inventory and turns to Karak. He gives a command. Tell everyone to close their eyes when I give the signal. Karak looks back, confused by the strange order. They both peer into the darkness of the cavern ahead as a rumbling sound grows louder. From the pitch-black mouth of the tunnel, dozens of glowing red eyes suddenly appear, staring menacingly at the group. A horrifying swarm of giant, rock-shelled spiders bursts forth from the darkness, charging straight towards them. A close-up shows Shutra shouting the order with a determined and urgent expression. As his orc squad shields their vision, Shutra hurls the flash spell potion towards the oncoming spider horde. The glass bottle shatters mid-air, releasing its contents, which erupt in a blinding flash of brilliant, golden light. The intense light engulfs the stone spiders, who are caught completely off guard. Blinded and disoriented, the spiders recoil and screech in agony, their charge brought to a screeching halt. With the enemy blinded, Shutra reveals his strategy. Stone spiders are rendered useless by light because they live in darkness. He points forward and commands his troops, "Attack, everyone! Kill the spiders!" Letting out a mighty war cry, the orc squad, with their eyes now open, charges forward to attack the helpless spiders. The battle begins as the orcs clash with the disoriented spiders, cutting them down with their weapons. The orcs continue their fierce assault, overwhelming the blinded creatures with a flurry of attacks. As his squad handles the spider swarm, Shutra stands back and calmly analyzes the situation on his minimap. He recalls a key piece of information from his game knowledge. Stone spiders always hunt in groups. With the boss identified, Shutra draws his sword and orders Karak to follow him, declaring that they will take down the leader. Karak readily agrees. Shutra and Karak break away from the main skirmish, running past the ongoing battle between the orcs and the smaller spiders. The two of them charge deeper into the cavern, heading straight for the location of the stone spider boss. Shutra and Karak come face to face with the leader of the spiders. It is a colossal stone spider boss, towering over them with multiple menacing eyes and a fanged maw. Letting out a battle cry, Karak leaps onto a smaller spider that gets in the way, bringing his massive weapon down on it. He then launches himself at the giant spider boss, swinging his axe with all his might and striking its rocky head. Karak looks on in confusion and shock. His powerful blow does nothing. The axe simply bounces off the creature's head, leaving its rock-like exoskeleton completely unscathed. Karak exclaims, "What? Its exterior is so damn hard." Shutra watches in dismay, realizing he forgot a critical detail. A normal axe won't be able to pierce the boss's exoskeleton. He remembers that its weakness is fire, but laments that he can't use fire magic yet. As he thinks this, the boss's eyes glow menacingly. The giant spider boss turns its attention towards Karak, who looks up in alarm as the massive creature looms over him. The boss rears up, preparing to strike down at the vulnerable orc. Karak is completely defenseless as the massive spider prepares its attack. In a panic, Shutra shouts, "Use fire, Karak. It's weak to fire." Karak, defenseless, yells back in frustration, "Wait, where am I supposed to get fire?" As Shutra watches in desperation, a voice rings in his head, telling him to raise his sword. At the same time, the base of his blade begins to glow with a fiery light. Instinctively, Shutra raises his arm. He looks on in utter disbelief as his sword erupts in a brilliant column of golden flames. Staring at the fire he has just conjured, Shutra's mind races as he stammers out a single thought, "A magic!" In the distance, his sister Caitlin appears, a ball of fire magic prepared in her hand. She had been about to intervene, asking, "Is that enough?" just as Shutra awakened his own power. Seeing her, Shutra calls out, "Sis!" The colossal stone spider boss lunges forward, its massive leg aimed straight for Shutra. Now armed with his newly awakened power, Shutra holds his flaming sword at the ready, preparing to meet the attack head-on. A close-up on Shutra's eyes shows a newfound confidence and fiery determination. The spider's massive leg smashes down towards the ground where Shutra stands. Shutra charges forward, swinging his flaming sword and meeting the spider's attack with a powerful fiery uppercut. A text box appears, announcing the name of this newfound power, Burning Blade. The flames from Shutra's sword engulf the stone spider boss, consuming its rocky exterior in a fiery inferno. A final shot shows Shutra, cape billowing and sword ablaze, looking resolute as he unleashes his powerful burning blade. A brilliant, golden light erupts, signaling a massive surge of power. From the center of the explosion, Shutra emerges, bathed in the radiant afterglow. A look of pure excitement crosses his face, thrilled by his newfound strength. As the golden energy swirls around him, system messages chime, announcing that he has leveled up. Shutra eagerly checks his status window, a wide grin on his face as he sees he has reached level 9. Caitlin appears, asking about the strange light. To deflect suspicion, Shutra nonchalantly calls it a blessing that happens sometimes. Caitlin questions if it's a blessing from Gandharv, and Shutra quickly agrees. She presses him about how he fought so skillfully. He claims he read about the creatures in books, but internally, he knows it's because he's fought them countless times in the game. Suddenly, Karak calls out to the prince, urging him to look at something he's found. Ahead of them stands a massive, ancient-looking door set into the dungeon wall. The heavy door creaks open, and the party, led by Shutra, ventures into the darkness beyond. Inside, Shutra is stunned to see a familiar glowing structure on a pedestal. He recognizes it instantly, a town portal. The group stands in awe, looking down at the mysterious glowing orb in the center of the vast, hidden chamber. Karak asks Shutra if he knows what the device is. Playing coy, Shutra replies that he doesn't know for sure, but he has a guess. Shutra thinks to himself, recognizing the distinct dwarven style of the portal's design, a pattern he never encountered when he played as Zephyr. However, he recalls seeing it a few times during his playthrough as a hero. Drawing on his game knowledge, Shutra reaches out, believing he can activate the portal by injecting mana into it. Caitlin watches in shock as the orb reacts to Shutra's touch, confirming his suspicion that it is indeed a portal. Caitlin and Syra discuss the revelation. Agreeing with the prince's assessment, Caitlin suggests they search for nearby inscriptions to find out where the portal leads. Just then, Karak calls out to the prince, having found a plaque with letters carved into it on a nearby wall. As they examine the plaque, Caitlin notes that the script isn't the common demon language they are used to seeing. Looking closer at the intricate runes, they realize it looks like ancient dwarven characters. Caitlin turns to Karak, hoping the seasoned warrior might have some knowledge. He bluntly retorts, "Why would I know dwarven script?" Karak then shifts the question to Syra, but she can only apologize, admitting that she is also unable to read the ancient text, leaving the group at a dead end. While his companions are stumped, Shutra suddenly reads the script aloud, stating the portal leads to Gishka Mountains, portal number 2. Caitlin and Syra look at him in shock. He continues reading, adding that it's connected to a third portal, leaving the entire party staring at him in disbelief. For a moment, Shutra himself is confused about how he can suddenly understand the language. A system notification immediately chimes, informing him that he has acquired Dwarven Language LV-1. He looks back at the inscription, a shocking realization dawning on him. He can learn new skills just by encountering them. Karak leans in, asking in disbelief if the prince can actually read the text. With a sly smile, Shutra confirms that he thinks so. Completely stunned, Syra asks how long he has been able to read Dwarven and what the rest of the inscription says. Thinking fast to hide his new, unexplainable ability, Shutra claims the text says the portal will activate if infused with mana. To maintain his cover, he turns to Caitlin and asks her to be the one to inject the mana, pretending he is unable to do it himself. He feigns incompetence, claiming he's still too clumsy with mana for such a task. A skeptical Caitlin simply replies, "Fine." Caitlin steps forward, placing her hand on the orb and channeling her energy into the ancient device, causing it to glow brightly. A massive, holographic projection erupts from the portal, forming a three-dimensional map of light that towers over the astonished group. Shutra instantly recognizes the terrain from his game knowledge, explaining that the map shows the Gishka Mountains, their current position, and the location of a third portal. The strategic importance of this discovery dawns on Karak, who notes that the main forces of the Scarlet Lightning tribe are stationed in those very mountains. Shutra agrees, realizing they now have a perfect way to strike the enemy from behind. Shutra decides they should stop for the day and return to camp. This intelligence is too vital, and he needs to discuss their next move with his brother. Back at their encampment, news of the portal's discovery creates a wave of excitement and awe among the troops. An ecstatic Chris Moonlight grabs hold of a flustered Shutra, joyfully praising him and calling him a true blessing for their cause. Chris generously offers Shutra any reward he desires, promising to grant it as long as it's within his power. Shutra humbly tries to refuse the offer, but Chris insists, stating that as his leader and elder, he feels compelled to reward him. After Chris playfully insists that a refusal would hurt his feelings, Shutra pauses before cautiously asking if an unreasonable request would be okay. Now even more curious, Chris encourages him to ask for whatever it is he wants. Shutra hesitates, building the suspense. Taking a deep breath, Shutra makes his audacious request. "Can you teach me the beast god fist art?" Chris is rendered utterly speechless, his face a mask of pure shock at the sheer audacity of Shutra's request for a legendary S-rank martial art. Shutra calmly begins to justify his bold request, explaining that because his level is still too low to properly wield weapons, his only path to gaining real strength is by mastering powerful, unarmed techniques directly. Shutra knows exactly what he's asking for. The Beast God Fist Art is an S-rank martial art, a powerful and secret technique passed down exclusively through the lycanthrope royal family. He preemptively softens the blow of an expected refusal, admitting that he knows it's a difficult request and that he was prepared to be turned down. But to his absolute shock, Chris agrees to teach him. Shutra is so surprised he can barely manage a stunned. Chris quickly clarifies the terms. Naturally, he cannot teach the secret techniques that are exclusive to his family. However, he is willing to teach Shutra the fundamental principles of its aura. An ecstatic Shutra can hardly believe what he's hearing. Chris asks if this compromise is a good enough gift, leaving Shutra momentarily speechless. Seeing his silence, Chris teases him, asking if he doesn't like the offer. Shutra quickly erupts in frantic gratitude, insisting the gift is absolutely perfect. Chris's tone then becomes serious as he calls out Shutra's name, capturing his full attention. He offers Shutra a bond deeper than a simple alliance, asking if he can think of him as a brother from now on. Shutra is taken aback by the weight of the word, repeating brother, as he processes the significance of the gesture. With a determined look in his eye, Chris affirms that it is indeed a meaningful word, a true offer of kinship. A genuine smile spreads across Shutra's face. He admits that he doesn't dislike the idea at all. In fact, he rather likes it and agrees. With that, the two seal their new bond as brothers with a firm handshake. Chris and Caitlin both smile, their alliance with the young but brilliant prince now solidified on a much deeper level. Shutra looks at his new allies with a confident smile, ready to work together from this day forward. As if to officiate the moment, a system notification appears before Shutra, confirming the establishment of his alliance with Chris and Caitlin Moonlight. The scene shifts to the rugged, sun-setting landscape of the Gishka Mountains. Here, nestled within the peaks, is the formidable encampment of the Scarlet Lightning tribe. Inside the camp, fierce, red-skinned orc warriors stand guard, their presence menacing. An orc leader menacingly interrogates an unseen captive, stating that they wouldn't have come to this place without a specific target in mind. He leans down, mockingly addressing the captive as our princess, and demanding to know what brings her to their territory. The scene reveals the captive, a woman with long dark hair, bound by glowing magical chains. A caption introduces her as the sixth princess, Felicia Doomblade, setting the stage for the next conflict. Shutra Ignis studies his character stats, a familiar interface from the game he once knew. All his abilities have been steadily rising, but one stat catches his eye, making him ponder. His charisma. He recalls his progress, thinking to himself that at first, every time he leveled up, all his stats increased by 2. But at some point, his charisma only started going up by 1. He questions this discrepancy, remembering a key detail from the original Night Saga game. In it, appearance and charisma were entirely separate stats. The game's logic was simple. Appearance was merely how good-looking a character was, while charisma measured how likable they were in the eyes of others. A subtle but important distinction. Shutra smirks, figuring his rapid growth in other areas makes up for it. More importantly, he looks at his status window, confirming he is Shutra Ignis, a level 9 Gonnerv prince. His excitement builds as he's about to hit level 10. He remembers that in Night Saga, reaching level 10 was a major milestone. Characters like the villains Zephyr and Locke unlocked their powerful, unique skills, Descendant of Darkness and The Chosen One. A confident smile spreads across Shutra's face as he anticipates his own power-up. Suddenly, a gruff voice calls out, "Prince!" as a large figure peeks into his tent. Shutra turns to the visitor, his excitement barely contained, and declares, "Everything's ready. Shall we depart?" The visitor, a large, green-skinned orc named Karak, enters the tent and notes Shutra's cheerful mood. Shutra quickly brushes it off. With their preparations complete, the two walk out of the tent to begin their journey. Stepping outside, Shutra and Karak are greeted by the sight of a massive army of orcs, all assembled and waiting for their command. The camera pans over the formidable legion of green-skinned warriors, their sheer numbers a testament to the forces Shutra now commands. With a determined glint in his eyes, Shutra addresses his army and gives the command they've all been waiting for. "All right, let's get going." Tokak. Bokwa. Chapter title/number. The scene transitions to a vast, sprawling mountain range, its peaks reaching high into the sky, signaling the start of their expedition. Their path leads them to the dark, ominous entrance of a cave nestled within the rocky mountainside. Inside, a fierce battle is already underway. Orcs and wolf-like creatures are locked in a chaotic and brutal fight. The frenzy of combat seems directed towards the back of the cave, where the creatures are desperately rushing towards a large, glowing gate. A group of formidable warriors steps out from the glowing portal. Leading them is the muscular, blonde-haired elf, Chris Moonlight, followed by Shutra, Karak, the sharp-eyed elf Caitlin Moonlight, and another hooded figure. Two mysterious figures in animal-like hoods are examining a glowing orb. Chris Moonlight asks if their investigation is complete. One of them, a person in a fox hood, reports that the portal is indeed connected to the Eska River of the Gishka Mountains, just as they predicted. The fox-hooded scout looks up with a pleased and confident smile, their task successfully completed. Chris asks if the portal is functioning properly. The scout reassures the group, stating that there are no issues. It's as sturdy as one would expect from dwarven craftsmanship. Satisfied with the report, Chris gives the decisive order to his companions. "Good, let's move." The two hooded scouts raise their hands, channeling their energy into the orb. It flares with a brilliant blue light, projecting an image within the portal's archway. The portal shows a vision of the new mountainous region, their destination now visible. As the rest of the group prepares to move, Shutra remains frozen for a moment, staring in wide-eyed wonder. He can't believe he's seeing a real-life gate, a concept he had only ever known from the game. Chris Moonlight impatiently asks Shutra what he's waiting for. Snapped out of his awe, Shutra quickly apologizes and hurries to catch up with the rest of the group as they stand before the portal. Without further hesitation, Shutra steps into the shimmering blue light of the dwarven gate, leaving the familiar cave behind. The party emerges into a new, unfamiliar territory. The terrain is rocky and bathed in a reddish hue, a stark contrast to the world they just left. Chris and Caitlin lead the way, with Shutra and Karak following closely. Shutra looks around, startled by the sudden and dramatic change in scenery. The air itself seems different in this strange, red-tinted land. From their vantage point on a high cliff, the group gets their first look at their objective, a massive enemy encampment stretching across the valley below. Chris Moonlight gazes down at the settlement with a confident look. Good. Just as I expected, there's their encampment, he says, quickly assessing the enemy's strength. Judging by its size, I'd say there are roughly 5,000 troops. He zooms in on the camp's layout, immediately identifying a key vulnerability. If we're striking from the rear, he strategizes, then the supplies should be our priority. Chris lays out the infiltration plan. If General Bandal launches an attack from the front to distract them, then our infiltrating units can burn down their food stores from behind. However, one of the sharp-eyed, hooded scouts interjects, her voice tinged with uncertainty. But doesn't something seem strange? She asks, looking towards Chris. She points out her observation to the group. There aren't nearly enough troops in the camp. The others look on, puzzled. You're right. Where did they all go? Could they have already started an attack? As the group contemplates the mystery of the missing soldiers, Shutra's ears twitch. His head snaps up as a faint, distant noise catches his attention. What's that? He exclaims. He turns towards the sound, his eyes scanning the horizon. Sounds like a battle going on. He murmurs, his expression turning serious. Noticing Shutra's attempt to listen, Chris gives him a crucial instruction. Shutra, focus your aura on your eyes. Shutra looks back, confused by the command. Though uncertain, Shutra follows the instruction. He closes his eyes and concentrates, and a faint purple energy envelopes his face as his red eyes begin to glow. Suddenly, his vision sharpens, allowing him to see the distant battle with supernatural clarity. Shutra gasps, astonished by his newfound ability. Can see it, he shouts, watching the distant clash of warriors as if he were standing right there. Caitlin analyzes the scene. One side looks like the Lightning Tribe, but who are the others? She wonders aloud. Chris confirms her suspicions, adding, they're not General Bandal's men. Today wasn't scheduled for any battles anyway. Chris also notes that the scale of the fight is too small to be a major offensive. Shutra remains silent, his enhanced vision allowing him to process details his companions can't yet see. Through his aura-enhanced eyes, Shutra focuses on a key figure in the battle, a fierce female warrior with long, white hair, single-handedly taking on multiple opponents. The white-haired warrior fights with incredible ferocity, her eyes glowing red with power as she strikes down an enemy and reaches for a creature on the ground. Shutra suddenly identifies the mysterious warriors, and his eyes widen in shock. Dark elves? He blurts out, startling his companions. Caitlin turns to him, surprised. What? Did you just say dark elves? Shutra confirms, explaining how he recognized them. Yes. They have a smaller build, and the fact that they're riding Dracos is... His knowledge from the game once again proves invaluable, though Caitlin is left confused by the term Dracos. Just as Shutra provides his intel, Chris shields his eyes and spots a change on the battlefield. They're retreating, he exclaims. From the speed of their withdrawal, he speculates that their commander must have fallen. The distant view confirms it. The Dark Elf forces are pulling back in a swift, organized retreat, leaving the battlefield to the victorious Lightning Tribe. The group watches the abrupt end of the skirmish, a collective look of confusion on their faces. Chris voices their shared thought. What's going on here? Is the fight over already? Shutra remains quiet, a bead of sweat on his face. The unexpected appearance of dark elves doesn't add up. He silently wonders what could have possibly brought them to this location. Suddenly, a holographic message crackles to life before the group. A voice booms, "I heard you found the dwarves' portal." The group turns to face the communication. It's a massive hologram of a fearsome, red-skinned orc general, his face projected from a device on the floor. It is General Bandal. General Bandal addresses them with a pleased tone. As expected of Prince Chris's army. "But tell me, how did you know there would be a portal here?" Chris is quick to give credit where it's due. "Oh, I wasn't the one who found it," he says, gesturing to Shutra. "It was the 9th Prince, Shutra, here." Shutra, flustered by the sudden attention, stammers, "I simply got lucky." Shutra notes that the general seems strangely pleasant. Bandal acknowledges Shutra, pleased to see him again, and promises a proper reward at the Demon King's castle. Bandal then changes the subject, his tone becoming more serious. "Before that, there was a small skirmish in front of the Lightning Tribe's camp. Do you know anything about it?" The general confirms what they witnessed. That was likely the Dark Elves. It seems they joined the battle on their own accord. He then poses the same question that was on Shutra's mind. But why would Dark Elves clash with the Lightning Tribe? Chris asks if they weren't reinforcements sent from the Demon King's castle. Bandal explains the situation is murky. Hard to say. According to them, they were planning to scout before joining up, but things went wrong. General Bandal's face becomes grim. "We have a bigger issue," he declares. The group looks up at the hologram, sensing the gravity of the situation as they ask what it is. He delivers the bad news. It seems the leader of the Dark Elves' independent unit was captured by the Scarlet Lightning Tribe. Chris immediately understands. So that reckless little skirmish was because of that? Shutra interrupts, his voice filled with urgency. He needs to know more. "Wait, who exactly is the commander of that independent unit?" General Bandal's holographic face stares down, his gaze seemingly fixed on Shutra. "It's someone you know well," he says, before revealing the shocking truth. "It's the 6th princess, Felicia Doomblade." An image of the captured princess, Felicia Doomblade, flashes into view, her form radiating a powerful purple aura. General Bandal delivers the final, personal blow to Shutra. "Your sister." The devastating revelation hangs in the air, leaving both Chris and Caitlin completely stunned, their eyes wide with shock and disbelief. The scene introduces the 6th princess, Felicia Doomblade. She is the daughter of Sylvia Doomblade, the 3rd queen and princess of the Dark Elves, and the twin sister of the 5th prince, Sylvan Doomblade. Because of this allegiance, Shutra has always considered Felicia and her faction to be enemies. Shutra is puzzled by Felicia's sudden appearance in the current conflict. He suspects she might be trying to interfere to claim some achievement for herself. Meanwhile, Chris questions whether their enemies, the Scarlet Lightning Tribe, are even aware that the dark elf they've captured is the princess, Felicia. Over a holographic communication, General Bandal reports that they don't know and haven't been able to confirm the enemy's awareness of Felicia's identity. The group discusses their next move. General Bandal states that their primary plan is to save her, but there will be no negotiations. However, if the enemy makes the first move, it opens a path for discussion. Chris firmly states that he has no intention of being the first to yield or show weakness. General Bandal concludes the call, promising to gather more information and get back in touch if anything changes. Chris acknowledges the message. The holographic projection of General Bandal vanishes, leaving Chris, Caitlin, and Shutra to contemplate their situation. With a smirk, Chris sarcastically remarks on the situation, saying, "Looks like our oh-so-brilliant older sister has become a prisoner." Caitlin insists that they must save her if she's alive, but Chris retorts that it won't be an easy task. Caitlin grows worried, realizing that a rescue attempt could lead to their own forces suffering heavy losses. Overcome with emotion, Caitlin grabs Chris, pleading desperately that they must save Felicia because she is their sister. Chris remains silent in response. Chris shows a conflicted expression, sweating slightly. He looks away from his sister towards Shutra and begins to explain his hesitation, saying, "I know that, but..." Shutra watches the interaction between the siblings, completely puzzled by the tension and conflict. The scene transitions, marking the start of Chapter 7, and shifts to a military encampment under a vast, cloudy sky. Inside a command tent surrounded by beast-men soldiers, Chris gathers Caitlin and Shutra around a table to lay out his strategy, stating, "The plan is simple. He explains the strategy using a map. General Bandal will lead a frontal assault to lure the main force of the Scarlet Lightning tribe, while Chris's team, including Shutra and Caitlin, will strike the enemy's encampment from the rear. Chris continues, detailing that he will charge into the center of the enemy base to create chaos. He then assigns Caitlin and Shutra to lead their own squads to carry out the mission. Shutra seeks clarification, asking if the mission is specifically to rescue their sister. Chris confirms, explaining that they will first burn the enemy's food storage and armory, and then rescue Felicia. Chris adds a crucial command. If the mission becomes too dangerous, they must retreat immediately. He sternly declares, "We can't afford to lose more lives just for Felicia." Infuriated by his words, Caitlin shouts, "Brother!" But Chris cuts her off, reminding her of his position and responsibility by saying, "Quiet, I'm the commander of a unit too." Caitlin passionately argues that Felicia is family and must be saved, but Chris coldly retorts that they cannot allow her reckless actions to jeopardize the entire operation. Caught in the middle, Shutra looks on, sensing a deep-seated animosity. As he witnesses the fierce clash between the siblings, Shutra solidifies his observation. Chris shows little genuine intent to rescue Felicia, seemingly holding a grudge that runs deeper than just strategic concerns. As Shutra observes the tension between Chris and Caitlin, he speculates that there must be a deeper history of conflict between them. The scene shifts to a desolate, rocky landscape under a red sky. A heavy boot steps firmly onto the ground, signaling the beginning of the operation. General Bandal leads his army of orcs and beast-like warriors into battle, brandishing a massive weapon and shouting the command to move forward. Fueled by battle rage, one of General Bandal's orc warriors roars, vowing to annihilate the enemy, the Scarlet Lightning tribe. Meanwhile, Chris, Caitlin, and Shutra have positioned themselves on a cliff, overlooking the enemy's sprawling encampment below. From their vantage point, Chris gazes down at the enemy base, taking in the full scale of their target. The camera zooms in on the enemy soldiers patrolling the camp. Chris's eyes narrow with focus as he prepares to initiate their plan. As planned, General Bandal's forces launch the first wave of their diversionary attack, firing explosive projectiles that rain down on the unsuspecting enemy camp. Chaos erupts within the Scarlet Lightning tribe's camp as the powerful explosions send soldiers flying and tear through their defenses. With the initial bombardment complete, General Bandal himself leads the ground assault, charging forward with immense speed and power. With glowing red eyes filled with fury, General Bandal lets out a deafening roar, commanding his warriors to kill them all. As the main battle rages in the distance, one of Shutra's soldiers grows impatient, asking why they aren't moving yet. Shutra remains calm, telling him to wait for the signal. The battlefield is a scene of pure carnage as General Bandal's green-skinned forces clash violently with the red-skinned soldiers of the Scarlet Lightning tribe. A massive explosion rocks the battlefield, indicating a critical moment in the fight. General Bandal and his orc warriors stand over the bodies of their defeated foes, having successfully drawn out and overwhelmed the enemy's main force. After a moment of silence, General Bandal gives a new, surprising order to his troops. "Now! This is it. Everyone, retreat!" The feigned retreat begins. As Bandal's forces pull back, they set the enemy camp ablaze. The massive fire rages, sending up a huge plume of smoke, the signal Shutra was waiting for. From his position on the cliff, Chris watches the distant fire and smoke, recognizing that the signal has been given. Chris turns to his own forces. "Everyone, get ready. We're moving," he commands, reinforcing their objective. "Let's carry out the mission exactly as planned." With their orders given, Shutra and Caitlin stand ready, their expressions grim and determined as they prepare to enter the chaotic enemy base. With a powerful war cry, Chris leads the charge as his unit, including Shutra and Caitlin, descends from the cliffs to storm the now-distracted enemy encampment. The remaining soldiers of the Scarlet Lightning tribe are caught completely by surprise, looking up in shock as Chris's forces ambush them from above. The Beastmen warriors of Chris's unit leap into the fray, viciously attacking the enemy soldiers and plunging the camp into further chaos. Amidst the chaos of the charge, Caitlin shouts a warning to Shutra to be careful. He yells back for her to do the same, their words nearly lost in the noise of battle. Wasting no time, Shutra takes command of his unit. He activates his unique map interface, instantly pinpointing their objective and issuing a clear, decisive order: moving left, dash straight to the food storage. Following Shutra's command, His squad of orc warriors charges forward with a battle cry. The orc leading the charge, Karak, roars for his soldiers to kill all of their enemies. Karak fearlessly dives into the enemy ranks, cutting down a soldier from the Scarlet Lightning tribe. However, another enemy soldier catches Karak off guard, landing a powerful punch that sends him reeling. Just as Karak is about to be struck again, he looks up in surprise. From a distance, Shutra expertly throws a dagger. The dagger flies through the air and strikes the enemy soldier directly in the head, saving Karak from the blow. A system window appears, notifying Shutra that he has acquired the skill Dagger Throwing LV1. He runs forward with newfound confidence. Shutra flashes a smug and satisfied smile, pleased with his quick mastery of a new ability in the heat of battle. Karak is stunned and asks the prince when he learned how to throw daggers. Shutra casually dismisses it, claiming he just practiced the previous night and somehow gained the skill, urging them to hurry. They arrive at a large building which Karak identifies as the food storage. He asks if they should proceed with the plan to burn it. Shutra initially agrees, telling him to continue as planned. But then Shutra freezes. A look of horror crosses his face as he suddenly realizes a fatal flaw in their plan. Wait, what about Felicia? He thinks, fearing she might be locked inside and burned to death. Changing his mind instantly, Shutra declares they have to find Felicia first. A confused Karak asks how they could possibly find her in this chaos, to which Shutra simply replies, "Hold on." Shutra once again activates his glowing map interface, focusing intently on it to find a solution. Relying on his meta-knowledge of the game, Shutra reasons that Felicia, as a currently non-hostile royal, should register as a neutral NPC. This means her location will be marked on his map by a unique blue or purple dot. His eyes widen in realization as he spots the distinct marker on the map, confirming he has pinpointed Felicia's location. Without hesitation, Shutra changes direction and shouts, "This way, Karak!" The loyal orc immediately acknowledges the new order and follows him. Following the map's directions, Shutra arrives at a closed door and forcefully kicks it open. He enters a dark, unfamiliar room, frantically looking around. This has to be the place. But where's Felicia? He wonders, just as an unseen person calls out his name. Shutra turns in surprise toward the voice and sees the faint outline of a woman with long white hair in the dimly lit room. The full, shocking scene is revealed. Princess Felicia is kneeling on the ground, powerless. She is bound by glowing red chains and trapped within a complex, pulsating magic circle. Felicia, the sixth princess, looks up at him, her expression one of utter astonishment as she questions his presence. "Shutra, what are you doing here?" The scene opens on the dark elf princess, Felicia Doomblade, chained and imprisoned. She looks up in shock, questioning the unexpected arrival of a familiar face. "Shutra, what are you doing here?" she asks, her voice filled with disbelief. Shutra kneels behind her, not with hostility, but with purpose. He begins to undo the magical chains binding her. "Let's talk later," he says calmly. "For now, just stay still." His focus is entirely on freeing her. While he assures her they need to escape the dangerous place, his inner thoughts reveal a calculated motive. Shutra knows that by rescuing the powerful Felicia now, he can indebt her to him, securing a valuable and powerful ally for the future. Felicia glances back at him, her expression a mixture of suspicion and surprise. She remains silent, processing the strange turn of events as the supposedly weak prince works to set her free. The scene shifts to a chaotic, war-torn camp. From the perspective of an onlooking orc, two figures are seen running through the battlefield. A voice exclaims that they barely escaped and must hurry. The man, Chris, urges his companion, Caitlin, to hurry so they can regroup. They are clearly allies of Shutra, fighting their way through the chaos to meet up with him. Back with Shutra and the now-freed Felicia, he asks if Chris and Caitlin had come to rescue her. Felicia is taken aback by the question, her surprise evident. Felicia stammers, confused. From her perspective, Shutra was never important or strong enough for powerful allies like Chris and Caitlin to mount a rescue mission for someone associated with him. The idea seems preposterous to her. Their conversation is cut short as an orc warrior runs past, shouting a warning to Shutra, whom he addresses as Prince. The enemy is swarming in, and the battlefield is becoming more dangerous by the second. Reacting instantly, Shutra calls out to Felicia by her first name, pulling her toward him and away from the immediate danger. Felicia, still processing the situation, complies with a hesitant, okay. The sudden familiarity catches Felicia off guard. Wait, when did you start calling me by name? She wonders, as Shutra swiftly moves past her, positioning himself between her and the oncoming threat. Watching him run ahead, Felicia is left momentarily stunned and confused by his uncharacteristically assertive and protective behavior. Suddenly, a female ally, likely Caitlin, spots a threat from a distance and screams a warning, Shutra, behind you. But Shutra, focused on the enemies in front, doesn't seem to hear or have time to react. The warning comes too late. A blast of magical energy strikes Shutra directly in the chest. His eyes widen in shock and pain as the attack hits its mark. He lets out a pained gasp, coughing up blood as the force of the blow courses through him. The injury is clearly significant. The attacker, an orc mage, stands ready. Witnessing Shutra being struck down, Felicia screams his name in a mix of horror and fury. In the next instant, a powerful torrent of flame erupts, engulfing the orc who had attacked Shutra. This is Felicia's immediate and devastating retaliation. Felicia stares, panting, at the spot where Shutra fell, her face a mask of shock and concern. Seeing him injured has triggered a powerful, protective instinct within her. Her moment of concern is broken as a brutish, red-skinned orc lets out a ferocious roar and charges at her. Felicia clicks her tongue in annoyance. Instead of fear, her eyes narrow with cold fury. The princess of the Dark Elves is not one to be trifled with. A massive explosion of light and power bursts forth, suggesting Felicia has unleashed another powerful spell against her foes. She looks on in surprise, not at her own magic, but at another event unfolding on the battlefield. Something unexpected is happening. While Felicia looks on in shock, a figure rises from the dust. It's Shutra, not only alive but standing with a newfound resolve. The devastating attack didn't defeat him. Instead, it has triggered an awakening. System windows confirm his transformation. First, the fundamental skill Mana Control LV.1 is acquired. Then, channeling this new energy, a bow of pure flame materializes in his hands as a second skill appears. Fire Arrow LV.1. The supposedly weak prince is now armed with real magic, ready to turn the tables. With his new skills unlocked, Shutra looks towards the battlefield not with fear, but with a smug and confident smile. It's time to test his newfound power. He lets loose his fire arrow, and the result is a massive, roaring explosion of flame that engulfs an enemy, showcasing the devastating potential of his very first spell. A wide, almost manic grin spreads across Shutra's face. The thrill of wielding real magic is intoxicating, and he's clearly enjoying every second of it. Like a seasoned archer, he skillfully draws back his mana bow, loosing multiple fire arrows at once into the horde of charging monsters. The arrows find their marks, striking several of the red-skinned orcs with small, fiery explosions, halting their advance. Shutra laughs aloud, a mix of disbelief and pure joy in his voice. Haha, this is real. It's actual magic. For the first time, he's not just using his knowledge of the game. He's living it. He unleashes another fire arrow, reveling in the power. Even though it's only level 1, this is incredible, he shouts, filled with the excitement of his growth. But his celebration is cut short as a new threat emerges. A wave of sharp, magical ice erupts from the ground, freezing a path across the battlefield. The ground is now covered in a treacherous layer of ice. Shutra looks on, surprised by this elemental shift in the battle. Ice? He questions. His eyes quickly locate the source. An enemy archer perched on the high ground, his bow glowing with frosty energy. He has a new, dangerous opponent. Shutra's eyes widen in alarm as he realizes the archer isn't aiming for him, but for the person behind him. Wait, he's aiming at Felicia right now. As if on cue, Felicia approaches, asking with genuine concern if he's all right. Thinking fast, Shutra shouts, "Wait, don't come closer," and forcefully pushes Felicia out of the path of the incoming projectile. Felicia can only watch in shock, her eyes wide with disbelief as Shutra deliberately puts himself in harm's way to protect her. Time seems to slow as the glowing ice arrow homes in on its new target, Shutra, who stands firm, ready to intercept the attack. But instead of bracing for pain, a completely different thought crosses his mind. He isn't just taking a hit for her. He has a plan. A greedy, excited smile flashes across his face as he thinks, "This one's mine." He realized from the start that getting hit by elemental attacks is how he acquires new skills. The ice arrow strikes him dead on, shattering on impact and releasing a wave of frigid energy. He is completely enveloped in a cloud of ice and snow as the skill imprinting process takes place. Just as he planned, a system window confirms his success. You have acquired Ice Arrow LV.1. A smug smile creeps onto his face. His gamble paid off. However, the triumphant smile quickly vanishes as the reality of the damage sets in. The power of the attack was far greater than he anticipated. Shutra collapses, the icy arrow still embedded in his shoulder. A dire warning flashes before him. His health has dropped to a critical 13 out of 95. He is in extreme danger. Panic begins to set in as he looks at the arrow in his shoulder. Damn it, my health," he mutters, realizing how close to death he just came. He grits his teeth, knowing that another hit, even a small one, would finish him off. Just then, a sharp, cold voice cuts through his panic, calling him an idiot. He looks up to find Felicia standing over him, arms crossed tightly. Her expression is a mask of cold fury, her eyes narrowed as she glares down at his pathetic state. Felicia's face is flushed, a mix of anger and embarrassment. She's clearly flustered by the situation, while Shutra can only stare back, utterly bewildered by her reaction. She continues to scold him, pointing out that even among all his siblings, he is known as the weakest. "So who do you think needs saving?" she yells. It's at this moment that Shutra realizes she is completely misinterpreting the situation. Shutra is baffled. Not only does she think he's a self-sacrificing hero, but she also somehow knows about his low standing in the family. He's also just noticed that the enemy mage who shot the ice arrow is gone. His thought is confirmed with a view of the watchtower, where the orc mage now lies defeated. Felicia had taken him down herself while Shutra was incapacitated. It all clicks for Shutra. She misunderstood his selfish ploy to gain a skill as a heroic sacrifice to save her. Before he can process this further, she roughly grabs the ice arrow still stuck in his shoulder and yanks it out. Shutra lets out a surprised as a gentle, green light begins to emanate from Felicia's hands. It's healing magic. She places her glowing hand over his grievous wound. Shutra watches in amazement, realizing what's about to happen. The magic flows into him, and the deep, bloody gash from the arrow begins to stitch itself closed in a matter of seconds. The wound vanishes without a trace. Just like when he was attacked, another system window pops up. By being healed, he has now acquired Heal LV.1. With her hand still glowing, Felicia asks if he's feeling better and can stand. Shutra, still in his gamer mindset, blurts out that his blood has been replenished, then quickly tries to correct his strange choice of words. Their moment is shattered by a deafening roar and a violent tremor that shakes the entire area. Both of them are startled, turning their attention to the new disturbance. A horrifying sight appears before them. A massive, red-skinned ogre with white hair and glowing red eyes emerges, letting out a blood-curdling roar. Shutra stares in absolute shock, asking, "What the hell is that?" Felicia calmly identifies the monster as a blood ogre, a mutated and far more powerful species. Shutra immediately understands the gravity of the situation. This new, formidable enemy is blocking their only path to escape. Felicia confirms his worst fears. Well, yes. To get out, they have to go through that monster. The two of them look up, dwarfed by the sheer scale of the threat. The blood ogre lets out another terrifying roar, its immense power and rage on full display. Shutra and Felicia are frozen in place, staring up at what seems to be an impossible obstacle. Following the events of the previous chapter, the battlefield is in chaos after a powerful strike from the enemy. A massive blood ogre slams its fist into the ground, narrowly missing Shutra and Felicia, who leap out of the way just in time. Shutra looks back in shock, exclaiming, "Why is it so fast despite its massive size?" Felicia quickly forms a plan, telling Shutra to buy them some time so she can blow the creature away with magic. A stunned Shutra yells back, "How am I supposed to do something like that?" They both scramble for safety as the blood ogre continues its rampage, barely dodging the debris from another powerful impact. Despite his hesitation, Shutra agrees. "Fine, I'll somehow aggro it, so you prepare your magic." Felicia, unfamiliar with gaming terms, asks what aggro means, to which he yells, "It's just a thing." Shutra calls out for his orc companion. "Karak, where are you?" Karak appears, ready for battle, and confirms he'll support them just like they did before. Running towards the battle, Shutra pulls out a skill card, thinking to himself, now I'll be able to use the dwarven dagger, right? The card reveals its contents. A gleaming, ornate dwarven dagger. Shutra materializes the dagger, which appears in his hand in a flash of golden light. He holds the glowing dagger, its blade humming with magical energy. With the dagger in hand, Shutra braces himself, and a powerful golden aura erupts around him. He activates his skill, shouting under the king's banner. A massive pillar of light descends from the sky, enveloping the orc warrior, Karak. Karak looks up, feeling the immense power from Shutra's buff surging through him. Now empowered, Karak lets out a tremendous roar, his body crackling with golden energy. The blood ogre looks on, startled by the sudden and dramatic increase in Karak's power. With newfound strength, Karak fearlessly charges toward the giant blood ogre, ready to face it head-on. Karak clashes with the blood ogre, his weapon meeting the monster's arm with incredible force. The blood ogre cries out in pain as Karak's buffed attack successfully wounds it. Karak doesn't let up, pressing his advantage and continuing his ferocious assault. He swings his cleaver again, landing another devastating blow on the monstrous creature. The blood ogre stumbles back, letting out a pained roar as it takes heavy damage from Karak's relentless attacks. While Karak keeps the ogre busy, Felicia begins to glow with a vibrant, pinkish aura, indicating she is almost ready to unleash her spell. A close-up shows Felicia concentrating her magical power, her eyes glowing as her body swirls with energy, ready to unleash her spell. Felicia casts her spell, shouting "Grease!" Magic spreads across the ground, making the area under the blood ogre slick and causing it to lose its footing. The blood ogre flails as it slips on the magical grease, losing its balance completely. With a loud crash, the massive creature topples over, hitting the ground hard and leaving it completely vulnerable. Seizing the opportunity, the empowered Karak leaps high into the air, positioning himself directly above the fallen blood ogre to deliver a decisive final blow. With his eyes glowing and determination etched on his face, Karak declares, "This is the end." He plummets down, driving his weapon deep into the blood ogre with tremendous force. The blood ogre lets out a final, agonizing scream as Karak's attack finds its mark. The impact is brutal, sending blood flying and marking the end of the monstrous creature. Karak stands triumphantly over the corpse of the defeated blood ogre, his task complete. As the dust settles, Shutra looks over the battlefield at the fallen monster, taking in their hard-won victory. Shutra laughs in relief, saying, "Haha, we won." He notes that while other enemies remain, the most troublesome one is dealt with. Suddenly, a golden light envelopes him, catching him by surprise. Still glowing, he looks around in confusion as a system notification window begins to appear before him. The system window fully materializes, announcing, "Your level has increased, LV10. Shutra is ecstatic, exclaiming, "Finally, level 10. As he basks in his achievement, another notification appears. The level of protagonist setting adjustment has increased. Shutra looks on, pleased, and thinks to himself, "Awesome." He reads the next message with a confident smirk. Thanks to his unique skill leveling up, a new passive skill has been added. Eager to see his reward, Shutra thinks, "Now, shall we open the gift box?" He opens the skill description, which reads, Battlefield Protection LV. 1. The accuracy of projectile weapons aimed at the protagonist decreases slightly. Shutra's eyes widen in realization. He instantly recognizes the nature of this ability, declaring, "This is the Stormtrooper effect." He recalls the common action movie trope he's seen countless times. Bullets rain down in volleys, yet somehow, every single one just barely misses the protagonist. A confident smile spreads across his face as he understands the true value of his new skill. He can now actually reproduce that protagonist plot armor effect. Just as he's celebrating his new power, the remaining horde of red-skinned monsters lets out a war cry and begins to charge. Felicia, seeing Shutra lost in thought, snaps him out of it. "Shutra, what are you doing? The enemies are swarming us." Startled, he replies, "Oh, okay." With a determined and slightly annoyed expression, Felicia prepares to handle the incoming mob herself. She raises her hand and commands the elements, "Oh, wind, whirl and rage." A powerful vortex of wind erupts around her, sweeping up the charging enemies. Even Shutra is caught in the powerful gust, bracing himself against the force of Felicia's attack. Watching her power in awe, Shutra has a sudden realization. He thinks, it looks like magic, but that's not magic. He understands that Felicia is not a simple mage. He recognizes the glowing butterfly-like entities swirling around the enemies. A spirit, he thinks. That's definitely a spirit. His knowledge of the game world clicks into place. Corrupted or not, a dark elf is still an elf, he realizes, connecting her elven lineage to this powerful ability. The truth becomes clear to him. Felicia wasn't just a brilliant mage. She was a born spirit summoner. But as he processes this, he turns his attention back to her spell. Shutra watches as Felicia's spirit magic effortlessly lifts the remaining monsters into a swirling vortex, completely decimating the rest of their forces. Feeling confident with his newly acquired plot armor skill, Shutra looks up at Felicia's overwhelming power with a smug grin, wondering to himself, can I be hit with something like that, too? Breakers Chapter 10. The scene opens with a bright flash of light, signaling a critical event on the battlefield. Responding to the signal, a troop of orcs emerges, brandishing their weapons, ready for what's to come. Looking up at the signal, Karak asks Prince Shutra what the flare means. Shutra explains that yellow signifies a retreat, but he seems confused and questions the order. A sense of dread washes over Shutra. He wonders what is happening and fears that someone might be in danger. Making a swift decision, Shutra turns to his loyal subordinate. He orders Karak to take the troops and pull back. Shutra declares that he is going to find his sister, Caitlin. Karak is taken aback by this sudden and seemingly reckless decision. Karak protests, wanting to accompany his prince, but Shutra insists, stating that there's a reason for the retreat order and that Karak should just follow his command for now. Suddenly, a new voice joins the conversation. Felicia Doomblade appears, declaring that she will go with Shutra, surprising Karak, who addresses her as Princess. Felicia explains her reasoning with a smirk. She's not the type to leave a debt unpaid and sees this as a chance to return the favor to Shutra for saving her. After a moment of silence, Karak reluctantly accepts their decision. He tells them to be careful and that he will wait for them up ahead. Shutra agrees, telling Karak he'll see him soon, as he and Felicia part ways with the retreating orc forces. Walking past the bodies of fallen enemies, Felicia continues to probe, asking if he's really that worried about Caitlin, implying that she might not be in as much danger as he thinks. She points out that his concern is natural, after all, they're siblings. Shutra seems flustered by her comment and quickly clarifies that his concern stems from them being allies, not just siblings. Felicia gives him a knowing look, seeming to understand there's more to his feelings than he's letting on. Their conversation is cut short by the sounds of intense fighting ahead. A horde of red, monstrous creatures charges forward. The clash of battle rings out as the red creatures descend upon their target with ferocious intensity. In the heart of the chaos, a lone warrior stands against the tide. It's Caitlin, effortlessly dodging and striking with incredible speed and precision. With a determined gaze, she focuses her power, facing down a seemingly endless wave of enemies. Caitlin unleashes a blast of energy from her palm, decimating a group of the red creatures in a fiery explosion. Despite her power, she is completely surrounded. With a fierce cry, she prepares for the next onslaught. She leaps through the air, cutting down 2 more enemies in a single, fluid motion, showcasing her exceptional combat skills amidst the chaos. Landing firmly, energy begins to crackle around her fist as she prepares to unleash another devastating attack, her eyes glowing with focused power. Caitlin unleashes a whirlwind of attacks, slicing through the enemy ranks with blue energy trails, causing the red creatures to cry out in pain as they fall. Just as the battle rages, Shutra and Felicia arrive on the scene, finding a clear path through the chaos as the enemies are focused solely on Caitlin. Felicia smirks, vindicated. She remarks that, just as she thought, there was absolutely no need to worry about her powerful friend. Caitlin finally notices them and questions why Shutra didn't retreat. He stammers, admitting he came to help but realizes how unnecessary it was given her strength. Before Caitlin can question him further, her eyes widen in surprise as she finally sees who is standing beside her brother. Her focus shifts entirely, and she takes a step forward, a look of pure shock and recognition on her face. Overcome with joy and relief, Caitlin cries out Felicia's name and rushes forward, throwing her arms wide for an embrace. She pulls Felicia into a tight hug, exclaiming how glad she is that her friend is safe. For the first time, the composed Felicia shows a hint of a blush, telling Caitlin she worries too much, though she accepts the heartfelt hug. Shutra watches the emotional reunion with a slight smile, commenting on how close the two of them seem to be. Stepping in, Shutra activates one of his skills, projecting a holographic tactical map that shows the positions of their allies and the advancing enemies. Impressed and seeing the urgency, Caitlin immediately gives an order. They must fall back. She puts Shutra in charge of leading the way while she covers the rear. The scene shifts to an underground stronghold, where a massive, cracked spherical portal hums with energy, surrounded by allied orc and beast folk soldiers. As the portal pulses with light, the group's footsteps echo as they approach the center of the hidden base. Having regrouped, Shutra, Caitlin, and Felicia walk through the stronghold, drawing the attention of the assembled soldiers. Karak, reunited with the group, talks with another soldier, remarking on how strange it is that Prince Shutra has changed so much so suddenly. A tall, muscular elf with long blonde hair greets them, stating he's glad they've returned safely. Caitlin excitedly calls out, "Brother! This is Chris, Caitlin and Shutra's older brother, a powerful warrior with a commanding presence." Caitlin proudly reports to Chris that she has brought Felicia back safely. Felicia remains silent, observing the interaction. Felicia then turns to Chris and greets him, acknowledging that it has been a while since they last saw each other. Chris looks down at Felicia, his expression unreadable, and after a brief pause, he agrees that it has, indeed, been a while. He addresses Felicia directly, his calm demeanor hinting at a deeper history between the two of them. The scene transitions, and Chris begins to debrief the group as they walk through a cavernous tunnel, informing them that General Vandal's forces were also victorious in their battle. As they descend deeper into the base, Chris continues his report, explaining that the enemy chieftain, Yakujin, abandoned the garrison once he saw it was being burned. However, Chris clarifies the situation isn't a total victory, adding a critical detail. Yakujin didn't surrender, he simply fled. Shutra looks confused, repeating the name, Yakujin. Caitlin reminds him that he is the great chieftain of the Red Thunder tribe, a major enemy leader. Felicia asks for clarification, but Chris corrects her. Yakujin didn't surrender. He simply fled, and he could still regroup his forces to fight again. Because of this new threat, Chris announces their plan. The next day, they will launch a preemptive strike against Kaiken's older brother to prevent him from joining forces with Yakujin. Felicia pauses for a moment, put on the spot by his direct question. She calmly concocts a story, claiming she was researching ruins nearby when she heard about the battle and was abducted on her way to help. Chris is clearly unconvinced by her convenient tale and asks her if she's telling the truth. Felicia meets his skepticism with a confident smile, challenging him by asking if he thinks she's lying. The two lock eyes in a silent battle of wills, Chris's suspicion warring with Felicia's unshakable confidence. Deciding to let it go for now, Chris sighs and declares that everyone must be exhausted, bringing the tense conversation to a close. He dismisses everyone to get some rest. As he leaves, Caitlin thanks her brother for his hard work, while Felicia watches in silence. Later that night, the camp is quiet, with soldiers resting and eating around campfires after the long day of fighting. In his private quarters, Shutra reviews his acquired skills, feeling a sense of accomplishment. He has magic control, fire arrow, orc arrow, and the mysterious oven skill. Still, he muses that in a real fight, he mostly relies on aura. As he contemplates his abilities, a voice suddenly calls his name, breaking the silence of his room. Shutra turns to see Felicia at his doorway, asking if she minds if she comes in. He is startled to see her, especially since she has changed into a new, more elegant outfit. He asks her what she's doing up so late, but she simply looks at him without answering, a pendant glowing on her chest. She takes a step into the room, her heeled boots clicking on the stone floor. She calls his name again, her tone serious, and Shutra looks on, confused and nervous. Without warning, Felicia lunges forward and grabs Shutra by the collar of his shirt. He cries out in shock, completely caught off guard by her sudden action. Then, with a soft, pink glow illuminating the room, she makes a stunningly direct request. "Could you take off your clothes?" The chapter ends with Shutra blushing and utterly flabbergasted, held firmly by Felicia, whose intentions are anything but clear, leaving him in a state of total shock. Stammering, Shutra asks what she means. Felicia calmly repeats her request, gesturing towards his clothes, leaving no room for misunderstanding. Shutra can't help but wonder about her intentions, his mind racing as he questions why she would ask such a thing. Felicia clarifies her reason with a simple question. Don't you want me to heal you? Shutra, who had been expecting something else entirely, is caught off guard by the innocent explanation. She explains that her previous healing was merely first aid, a temporary measure for his injuries. Felicia states that he might have internal injuries that require a proper healing spell. Realizing his misunderstanding, Shutra clicks his tongue in disappointment, admitting to himself that he was expecting something more. As she heals him, Felicia notices the faint glow emanating from his body and asks about it. Shutra quickly dismisses it as something that just happens sometimes, though her curiosity is piqued. With the healing underway, the now shirtless Shutra decides to seize the opportunity. He tells Felicia that he has a favor to ask her, changing the subject. With a sly grin, he specifies that it's a favor only she, Felicia, can grant him, hinting at his plan to learn her skills. Shutra's favor was to learn healing magic. As a result, 3 new skills appear before him: Cure Poison and Cure Disease. Now dressed in a fine new outfit, Shutra smiles, pleased with the results. He can feel the power of the new skills he has just acquired. He reflects on how quickly he managed to learn 3 new healing spells, all thanks to Felicia agreeing to his request. The system confirms he has acquired Cure and Cure Poison. The final skill, Cure Disease, is also confirmed. On top of this successful morning of learning, Shutra is excited because today marks another important event. The scene shifts. Shutra is now with his mentor, Caitlin. Knowing there are many schools of the Beast Fist, he is ecstatic that he finally gets to begin his martial arts training. Caitlin informs him that he won't be learning just any Beast Fist. Today, he will begin with the Werewolf's Beast Fist. This specific martial art belongs to the lycanthropes or werewolves and serves as the foundation for the even more powerful beast Godfist. Shutra realizes this must be why Caitlin chose to teach him this particular style, understanding its fundamental importance. Caitlin explains that the Beast Fist uses both external and internal aura. For today's lesson, she will teach him the basics of manipulating his internal aura. Following her instructions, Shutra closes his eyes and begins to focus, drawing his awareness inward to his own aura. As he concentrates, he begins to sense it, the flow of aura, which he recognizes as the very power of life itself. Aura is depicted as the power closest to the soul. As Shutra focuses, he feels this energy course through every part of his body, realizing that when pushed to its limit, it becomes the power of the soul. A powerful surge of blue energy erupts from within him, a visible manifestation of his aura awakening in a dramatic burst. As the energy settles, Shutra opens his eyes, which now glow a menacing red. He has not only tapped into his aura but unlocked something far greater, though he doesn't yet know what it is. As the intense surge of power subsides, a golden notification window appears before Shutra. He has acquired a new passive skill, Protagonist's Physique. Shutra stares at the notification in confusion, completely surprised by this unexpected development. He reads the skill's description. It greatly boosts training efficiency for physical skills, and more importantly, it unlocks new traits as the skill levels up. Shutra quietly repeats the name, Protagonist's Physique. His eyes widen in disbelief. What the? He thinks, realizing the immense power of what he's just obtained. Another busted skill? He immediately compares it to the top-tier passive skills from the game, Archmage's Physique and Hero's Blood, which belong to the other main characters, Zephyr and Locke. He realizes his new skill is on the same broken level. The most exciting part is the promise of unlocking new traits with each level up. He understands this means the skill will essentially gain brand new functions as it grows stronger. A wide, triumphant grin spreads across Shutra's face as the full implication of his new power sinks in. He clenches his fists, trembling with excitement. So this is what it means to be the protagonist, he thinks, reveling in the awesome power. His celebration is cut short as Caitlin yells his name. Brought back to reality, Caitlin scolds him for losing focus. Shutra quickly apologizes, embarrassed. Caitlin declares that it's time to start the real training for the Beast Fist. Standing apart from each other, Shutra confirms that he is ready. Shutra channels his aura again, this time with newfound confidence and control, focusing the energy into his fists. Shutra marvels at the sensation of power. Even with his bare hands, it feels like he's holding deadly weapons. He now understands the true essence of the beast fist. Just as Caitlin is about to move on to the next technique, a lycanthrope scout rushes in, calling for the princess. The scout yells emergency, and the light-hearted training atmosphere immediately vanishes. Shutra and Caitlin turn towards the messenger, their faces grim. The scout delivers the alarming news. Kairam's troops have disappeared. The scene cuts to Prince Chris, who reacts to the news with a serious expression. An emergency war council is convened. Shutra, Caitlin, Felicia, and Prince Chris gather around a strategic map, all looking shocked and concerned by the unexpected development. Prince Chris grimly concludes that Kairam must have seen through their plan. Caitlin immediately asks what they should do now. Caitlin presents new intelligence from General Bandal. She points to a spot on the map, revealing that Kairam and another leader, Yakujin, are scheduled to meet there. After considering the terrain, Shutra agrees that the prediction is highly likely. He then voices a bold new strategy. Then, we strike decisively. Prince Chris agrees with Shutra's decisive stance, declaring that they will join forces with General Bandal. He announces their new objective, to wage an all-out war against the Red Thunder tribe alongside the main force. The scene shifts, panning across the sky towards their new destination. The scene shifts to the bustling main camp of the Red Thunder tribe subjugation force. As Prince Chris's party arrives, a powerful voice cuts through the noise, personally welcoming him after his long journey. The speaker is the imposing General Bandal, a massive, red-skinned orc. From a distance, Shutra recognizes the familiar, stern face of the general, a character type he often relied on in the game, setting the stage for their first official meeting. Prince Chris and General Bandal exchange greetings. Chris remarks that Bandal hasn't changed a bit, and Bandal returns the sentiment. Bandal also greets the two princesses, Caitlin and Felicia. Chris cuts the pleasantries short, asking about the status of his subordinates. Bandal assures him they are all fine. All the while, Shutra watches the interaction with a knowing smile. A small, confident smile plays on Shutra's lips as he observes the meeting. Shutra recognizes General Bandal from his days playing the game Night Saga. He recalls Bandal being one of the characters he used the most, which explains why the general's stern face feels oddly familiar. Seizing the opportunity, Shutra steps forward and confidently introduces himself to the formidable general. General Bandal is momentarily taken aback by the young prince's directness and confidence. Bandal accepts the gesture, shaking Shutra's hand and formally welcoming him as the ninth prince. With this handshake, a crucial new alliance is forged. Later, as Shutra rests, his mind drifts into a mysterious dream, beginning with glowing embers floating in darkness. From the light emerges a beautiful, ethereal woman with long, flowing white hair, floating majestically. A closer look reveals her regal features, a delicate crown and striking heterochromia, with one blue and one red eye. The vision then shifts to a second, fiery figure. The two powerful beings stand in opposition, one representing a calm, golden light, and the other a raging, fiery inferno. The second figure is revealed to be a fierce female warrior, clad in crimson armor and a helmet, completely engulfed in flames. The dream shows close-ups of the two mysterious women, the white-haired woman with a serene yet powerful gaze, and the blonde warrior with intense, glowing blue eyes behind her mask. In the surreal landscape of his dream, Shutra finds himself walking between these two imposing and symbolic figures. Shutra gasps, his face covered in a cold sweat as the intensity of the vision overwhelms him. A celestial symbol appears, representing the first woman, bearing the title, Conquest. A second, more aggressive crest materializes, representing the fiery warrior, with the name, War. Shutra wakes with a start, sitting upright in his bed within the army encampment. He questions if it was just a dream, yet he feels a strange sense of déjà vu, certain that he has seen the woman called Conquest in a previous dream. However, the second figure remains a mystery to him. He wonders about the identity of the intense, red-armored woman known as War. His thoughts are interrupted when an orc soldier pulls back the tent flap, calling for the prince. It's time to move out. Shutra quickly agrees. Shutra leaves his tent and joins the ranks of green-skinned orc soldiers, the army camp bustling with activity as they prepare to march. As they prepare for battle, Shutra reflects on his role. He has been assigned to command the left flank of the army. The rest of the leadership is also positioned strategically. General Bandal commands the center, while Prince Chris and Caitlin command the right. Meanwhile, Felicia and the Swift Dark Elves form a separate unit to guard the rear. The march to the battlefield begins. Time seems to fly, and before Shutra can fully process it, he finds himself staring at the ominous, red-streaked sky of the war zone. Shutra stands frozen, a look of pure shock and fear on his face. He realizes he is in the middle of a real battlefield, surrounded by thousands of soldiers, a stark and terrifying difference from the game he once knew. The camera pans out to reveal the overwhelming scale of the conflict. Thousands of soldiers on both sides roar, their war cries echoing across the vast, blood-red plains. The sheer size of the armies is staggering, and Shutra is just one small part of the massive battle about to unfold. The scene opens on a desolate, red-tinted battlefield where a massive army of orcs and goblins stands ready, their spears and banners silhouetted against the grim sky, poised for a monumental clash. Carried amidst the towering green-skinned orcs, the small, white-haired Shutra looks utterly exasperated, a comical contrast to the brutish warriors surrounding him. A fierce, red-skinned orc captain with prominent tusks rallies his troops with a roar, ordering them to assume combat positions. He declares with vicious intent, "Let's teach those bastards what pain truly means." A close-up shot reveals the orc captain's face, his eyes glowing with red-hot fury and determination as he prepares to lead the charge. Hoisting his axe high, the orc captain bellows the order to advance. The entire horde, a mix of orcs and beast-like warriors, surges forward with a deafening war cry. From the opposing side, another army, composed of red-skinned warriors with shields and swords, charges forward with equal ferocity, ready to meet the onslaught head-on. A dark, horned figure, presumably the enemy commander, lets out a sinister laugh, looking down on the charging army with utter contempt, dismissing them as foolish bastards. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupts right in the midst of the allied orc forces, catching them completely by surprise and sending bodies flying. The orc captain's confident expression turns to one of pure shock and disbelief as he witnesses the unexpected explosion. What is that?" he exclaims. The entire army grinds to a halt, their charge broken by a sudden, terrifying presence that has just appeared before them. Looming out of the smoke and chaos is a monstrous creature of immense size. A dark, hulking mammoth with gigantic, menacing tusks and glowing red eyes. The orc captain stares in utter horror, his voice trembling as he identifies the impossible creature before them. Swamp mammoth. Without warning, a series of powerful explosions tear through the battlefield, originating from the mammoth's devastating attack. The blasts rip through the ranks of the allied orc army, sending soldiers flying like ragdolls and turning their confident charge into a scene of utter carnage. The explosions continue in rapid succession, decimating the army with overwhelming force, leaving no room for escape or retaliation. The screen is filled with the chaos of the onslaught, as the powerful shockwaves blast more and more of the helpless soldiers away. Shutra finds himself in the middle of the chaos, having been thrown to the ground. He looks on, stunned, as the allied forces are annihilated around him. A look of dawning horror crosses Shutra's face as the reality of the situation hits him. "We've been had," he realizes. Those bastards knew everything from the start. The swamp mammoths, now revealed to be a whole group of them, rampage through the battlefield, trampling and destroying everything in their path with unstoppable force. A descriptive panel explains the nature of the beast. A swamp mammoth. As the name suggests, it resembles a mammoth, but its sheer size is on a completely different scale. The narration concludes grimly. In short, it's a genuine monster. The panel closes in on its terrifying, glowing red eyes, the very image of destruction. Despite the overwhelming carnage, Shutra forces himself to his feet. Casting aside his fear, a powerful red aura erupts around him as his expression hardens with grim determination, bracing himself for the impossible fight ahead. But the enemy's trap was far from over. Just as Shutra resolves to fight, a massive, clawed reptilian foot slams into the ground from the side, signaling that the ambush is closing in and they are being flanked. The new threat is confirmed. An army of fierce, muscular lizardmen, armed with crude but deadly weapons, emerges from the flanks, their eyes glowing with predatory intent. Shutra and his allied orcs are caught completely off guard, their expressions turning to shock as they realize they are being pincered by a new wave of enemies. The battlefield descends into further chaos. An announcement confirms the arrival of the lizardmen, who are now shown tearing into the allied orc forces, creating a bloody and desperate struggle for survival. Still frozen in shock, Shutra finds himself directly in the path of a lunging lizardman, who leaps at him with a ferocious roar. Just in the nick of time, the massive orc Carrick throws himself in front of Shutra, intercepting the lizardman's attack with his own body. Turning to the stunned Shutra, Carrick roars with desperate urgency. "Snap out of it! One wrong move and we're all dead here." Jolted back to his senses by Carrick's words, Shutra acknowledges the grim reality. His internal monologue is stark. Carrick is right. This isn't a game. Elsewhere on the battlefield, the powerful, blonde-haired elf commander fights valiantly against the red-skinned enemy forces, a whirlwind of action. As he fights, the elf commander comes to the same horrifying conclusion as Shutra. "Damn it! Don't tell me they knew everything and were just toying with us?" He grits out, before shouting "brother" to the orc captain. A sharp-eyed, blue-haired female elf approaches the commander, her expression urgent. "I think it's best we retreat for now and wait for another opportunity," she advises, to which he reacts with surprise. She presses her point, gesturing to the chaos around them. "But if we make a mistake, we could suffer even greater losses, possibly even annihilation. At this rate, the number of casualties will only increase." The blonde elf commander's expression hardens as he takes in her words, the weight of leadership and the lives of his men heavy on his shoulders. He knows she's right. As his terrified soldiers look to him for guidance, the commander makes his decision. "All forces, listen up!" he bellows, taking charge of the catastrophic situation. From a high vantage point, he issues his orders for a strategic withdrawal. Those who wield magic will establish a defensive line in the rear and buy as much time as possible. His command continues over the scenes of desperate fighting below. The rest will quickly form ranks and retreat, with a final, desperate roar filled with the anguish of a commander forced to fall back. He screams his most important order: "Survive and return, no matter what. Do not die." The scene transitions to later that day. An aerial view shows the grim, makeshift encampment of the surviving Allied forces, nestled within a rocky canyon. Inside one of the tents, healers tend to a grievously wounded orc. The orc captain's voice echoes in a somber internal monologue, admitting his mistake. "I was too complacent." The leaders are gathered in a command tent. The red orc captain sits heavily, filled with regret. "I should have been suspicious, even just a little." He laments before concluding, "Is done." The orc captain lays out their dire situation to the blonde elf commander. "Right now, our only options are to pull back the troops entirely or request reinforcements from the Demon King's castle." The blonde elf commander looks down, his face a mask of grim acceptance. "I suppose that's what we have to do," he concedes, adding, "I can't drag my subordinates to their deaths over some vain desire for glory." Just as the commander is about to give the order to head to the Demon King's castle, Felicia Doomblade steps forward, raising a hand. "Wait, I have an idea," she interjects, capturing everyone's attention. As the leaders despair over their military options, Felicia steps forward to offer a completely different path. "The reason I came to this area in the first place was for ruin exploration," she announces. The destination for the exploration was here at the edge of the Jishuka Mountains, shifting their focus from a losing battle to a potential new quest. As Felicia stands overlooking a waterfall, Shutra's thoughts continue, confirming her role. Her traits were geared towards research and ruin exploration. Back in the command tent, Felicia unrolls a large map across the table, immediately drawing the attention of the other leaders. She gets straight to the point. "For a long time now, I've been researching a ruin known to be in these mountains," she reveals. "The 1,500-year-old ruin, lair of the earth dragon Enkidu, a fearsome image of the dragon Enkidu, a colossal beast born of lava, flashes on screen." Felicia explains, "Enkidu employed various guardians to protect its lair and treasures." Felicia continues her explanation, stating that dwarves were among the guardians and that Enkidu had them create weapons for protection. This piques the interest of the blue-haired elf, who asks, "Weapons?" Felicia reveals the name of the artifact they seek, the Thunderbirthing Anvil. She explains that it has the power to control the chimeras that served as the lair's guardians. As an image of the anvil crackling with immense power appears, Slamming her hand down on the table for emphasis, Felicia reveals the anvil's true potential. It's a weapon capable of casting army-scale magic. With unwavering conviction, she declares, "If we want to win, finding this is our only option." The chapter concludes with a powerful shot of Felicia, standing determined over the map which now shows an icon of the anvil. She has presented a new, desperate path forward, shifting their focus from military retreat to a high-stakes treasure hunt. She turns to the large warrior, Karak, revealing that the anvil is the very reason she came here. She asks him directly if he knows its exact location. But another voice, belonging to the blonde warrior Chris Moonlight, chimes in. He regretfully admits that the information they have is limited, which isn't very helpful for their urgent cause. Chris elaborates on his cautious stance. He argues that with the enemy's movements being unpredictable, he can't risk everyone's lives on a treasure hunt. This reasoning clearly infuriates Felicia, who glares at him in disbelief. All eyes turn to the source of the voice. It's the young prince, Shutra, who has stepped forward. Felicia looks at him in surprise, uttering his name. Shutra explains that he has seen the anvil before, back when he played the game as the hero Locke. He recalls finding a related story while studying the Dwarven language, connecting his past game knowledge to their current reality. He looks directly at the Dark Elf Mage and makes a bold declaration, stating, "I trust Felicia." This unexpected statement is clearly aimed at winning her allegiance. As Felicia processes his words, Shutra thinks to himself with a sly grin. He sees this as a perfect opportunity to score some favor and solidify his position within the group. However, Chris isn't convinced. He steps in, telling Shutra this isn't about trust and that they can't afford to waste time. Shutra, in turn, is internally frustrated by how stubborn Chris is being. Undeterred, Shutra begins to lay out his evidence. He points to the map, explaining that the Gandharv people, his own race, have a legend similar to that of the anvil. Connecting the dots, he confidently states that the entrance to the ruins where the anvil is hidden should be nearby, and that he can find it if he searches the area. To seal the deal, Shutra makes a final, passionate plea. He promises to take full responsibility if he fails and begs them to trust him just this once. He's decided it's time to go all in on his knowledge. Moved by his conviction, Felicia steps up. She uses her powerful magic, summoning phantom steeds to carry the group on their quest. A green, ethereal energy envelopes the party members, lifting them into the air as the spectral horses fully materialize, ready for their high-speed journey. Now airborne, Felicia confirms they are heading for the anvil. Karak jokingly tells Shutra to hold on tight, but Shutra internally scoffs, remembering how he rode these steeds countless times as his game character, Locke. While riding his phantom steed, Shutra pulls out what looks like a glowing card. It's his minimap, a relic of his life as a gamer, now a crucial tool for navigation. He checks his progress on the map. He calculates that, at their current speed, they'll reach the entrance in about an hour. With the minimap, he's certain that finding the ruins won't be difficult at all. A new problem arises for Shutra. He has the exact location, but he needs a way to guide the party there naturally, without revealing that he possesses impossible knowledge. Shutra furrows his brow, sweating as he thinks. He knows he has about an hour to come up with a plausible explanation for his incredible navigation skills. As the group soars through the sky, their ethereal forms casting long shadows below, Shutra tries to reassure himself that it'll all work out somehow, and a plan begins to form in his mind. Shutra presents his made-up excuse about using tunnel maps and terrain patterns. He looks ecstatic, internally wondering, did that actually work? Meanwhile, Caitlin and Karak are left completely speechless by his convoluted explanation. Shutra can barely contain his glee, thinking, haha, damn it, just let it slide when I bluff. To his utter shock, Felicia simply says, lead the way, Shutra, completely buying his story. With an air of newfound confidence in their young leader, Felicia looks at him and confirms, I understood what you said. Let on. Shutra is still reeling internally, amazed that his improvised excuse was actually plausible. He quickly snaps back to reality and cheerfully calls out, right? Everyone, follow me. Felicia watches him go, letting out a slightly exasperated humph. Though she may find him odd, she has placed her trust in his leadership for now. After some time, Karak the orc voices the group's growing doubt. We followed the prince all this way, but it seems they've reached nothing but a dead end. The party stands before a massive, impassable cliff face with no clear path forward. Karak approaches Shutra, voicing his confusion. Are you sure this is the right spot? This doesn't look like an entrance at all. Shutra simply lets out a mischievous little laugh. Shutra turns to the confused orc and cryptically asks, "Who said anything about going to the entrance?" He then turns to another companion, the blue-haired warrior Caitlin. "Caitlin, can you break through here?" he asks, much to her surprise. "Yep. I'm counting on you for a big one." A confident smile spreads across Caitlin's face as she replies, "Well, I'll give it a shot." Behind her, Felicia looks on, a sudden realization dawning on her face. Felicia understands Shutra's audacious plan. She stares at the solid rock wall and asks, "You mean the anvil that births thunder is inside this cliff?" Shutra just gives them a knowing, confident smile, confirming her suspicion without saying a word. With a smug grin, he explains his reasoning. According to his calculations, smashing through the wall at this specific point will allow them to bypass the dungeon's guardians entirely. But as he's explaining this to Caitlin, Felicia suddenly interrupts, calling him an idiot. How is she supposed to break it with her fists? She scolds. She continues to berate him, asking if he thinks Caitlin is some kind of human siege weapon. Shutra is taken aback, scratching his head in confusion, wondering how else they would break the wall. Taking charge, Felicia begins to gather magical energy in her hands, a vibrant blue whirlwind of power starting to form. With a wild grin, she explains that ruin explorers like herself often major in demolition and explosions. She was the real key to his plan all along. Felicia unleashes the full might of her spell, sending a powerful concussive blast towards the solid rock wall. The spell makes impact, and the sheer force causes deep cracks to splinter across the cliff's surface. An enormous explosion follows, blowing a massive hole in the rock. The sheer force of the blast sends debris and a huge cloud of dust flying everywhere. As the smoke begins to clear, the party is left staring at their newly created entrance, a gaping hole leading into the darkness of what appears to be a man-made structure. Peering through the hole she created, Felicia is utterly stunned. "And no way," she stammers, in complete disbelief at what she sees inside. She gazes into the massive, ancient ruin, asking how Shutra could have possibly found this. In the distance, another party member spots a large, mysterious dome and wonders if the thunder whatever is inside. The group ventures into the vast chamber. Shutra confirms their suspicions, stating that the dome is the final safeguard, and the anvil they seek is indeed inside. Karak, ever the pragmatist, suggests they simply smash the dome open. But Shutra quickly stops him, warning that such a direct approach could damage the priceless artifact. Felicia agrees with Shutra. She begins to analyze their surroundings, stating that there must be a specific, intended way to open the safeguard. Her sharp eyes scan the chamber, moving from the dome to the silent, imposing statues that line the great hall, searching for a clue. She quickly spots an anomaly. "Don't these statues look odd?" she asks the group. She points out that out of the 9 statues in the room, 3 are holding weapons, but the other 6 are empty-handed. Caitlin immediately grasps the implication, asking if their task is to give weapons to the rest of the statues. Felicia, however, remains skeptical, doubting the puzzle could be that simple. Looking closer, Felicia identifies the existing weapons as dwarven-made. She deduces they need to find 6 more dwarven weapons for the other statues. The question immediately arises, where could they possibly get 6 dwarven swords? As if summoned by the question, Shutra steps forward, carrying an armful of swords. "If that's what we need," he says casually, "I happen to have 6. Felicia is rendered speechless. Internally, Shutra congratulates himself. He recalls stumbling upon a stash of old weapons that he was too low-level to equip. What seemed like junk at the time has now become the key. Total luck, he thinks to himself. He offers a simple explanation to the stunned party. He picked up some spares while exploring a tunnel earlier, just in case. Karak eyes him suspiciously, wondering when he did this and how he fit 6 swords into his tiny bag. Karak grumbles that he doesn't like sharp-witted orcs. A playful jab at Shutra's uncanny foresight. Shutra just laughs it off, complaining that the swords are heavy and teases Karak for being weak before handing one over. Following Shutra's lead, the party members approach the 6 unarmed statues and place the heavy dwarven swords into their empty stone hands. The moment the final sword clinks into place, the eyes of the statues flash to life, emitting a brilliant, otherworldly blue glow. The entire chamber is flooded with light as the ancient mechanism awakens, and the party looks on in stunned silence. A low grinding sound echoes through the hall as the large dome begins to retract, its protective shell pulling away to reveal its contents. Someone shouts in amazement, "The dome is opening!" The group stares, their faces illuminated by the intense blue light emanating from the now open safeguard, their goal finally within reach. Shutra looks on with wide-eyed wonder. There, rising from the center of the platform, is the legendary artifact itself. The entire party gazes in awe at the anvil, which glows with immense power. Shutra looks on in amazement. Before him and his party lies the objective they've been searching for, an ancient, glowing structure known as the Forge. Indeed, this is the legendary artifact they sought, a forge that births thunder. Just as they prepare to act, Caitlin stops them, explaining that according to the ancient records, a final procedure is needed to activate the forge. Shutra looks on, puzzled. Caitlin takes charge, ordering Shutra and Karak to hold their positions while the rest of the party takes their places at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock positions around the central disk. She explains the plan. They will all begin infusing mana into the disk, starting with her and proceeding clockwise, slowly increasing the amount of power. With everyone in position, the party stands ready around the glowing anvil, preparing to begin the difficult ritual. With a final call to focus, Caitlin initiates the procedure, gathering crackling blue energy in her hands. Following her lead, the entire party begins to channel their mana, sending arcs of powerful lightning into the ancient forge. As the energy intensifies, Caitlin yells at Shutra, urging him to increase his mana output. He quickly complies. She commands the group to keep the energy flow steady, reminding them not to let their guard down for even a second. The air crackles with immense power as Shutra and Caitlin pour their energy into the anvil at the center of the room. The sheer force of the ritual is immense, and Shutra visibly struggles to maintain control of his mana flow. Despite the immense strain, he grits his teeth, his expression filled with grim determination to see the ritual through to the end. The ritual reaches its climax as a massive bolt of lightning strikes the forge, unleashing a blinding flash of light. Suddenly, the scene shifts. The crackling blue energy is replaced by a dark, ominous aura as the true trial of the forge begins. Shutra looks around in confusion, only to see a horrifying sight. His comrades, who were just beside him, now lie motionless on the ground. Before he can process the loss, a massive, clawed foot slams into the ground nearby, shaking the very earth he stands on. The vision expands, revealing that he is standing in the middle of a grim battlefield, littered with the bodies of countless fallen warriors. Sweating and terrified, Shutra stammers, "What's this?" as a deep, powerful voice echoes across the desolate landscape, addressing its retainers. His attention is suddenly drawn upwards. What's that sound from above? Looking around, Shutra finds himself completely surrounded by imposing, heavily armored warriors, all part of this strange vision. His face is a mask of pure shock as he tries to comprehend the overwhelming and terrifying scene unfolding around him. A colossal, draconic silhouette descends from the blood-red sky, its sheer size blotting out the horizon as it looms over the battlefield. A close-up reveals the terrifying face of the beast as a powerful voice echoes its command, "Guard the nest of the great Enkidu." As Shutra stares in shock, the dragon's voice continues, explaining its role as a being that exists between the demon realm and the human realm. With its blazing eyes fixed forward, the great dragon Enkidu declares its sacred duty, to stand as the gatekeeper. Shutra collapses onto the floor, gasping for breath as he returns to reality after the shocking experience. He sits up, drenched in a cold sweat. That was definitely a black dragon, he thinks, his heart still pounding. Using his meta-knowledge of this world, he correctly identifies the creature. A black dragon? Is that the earth dragon Enkidu? Just then, Caitlin's voice cuts through his thoughts, asking if he saw it too. He looks up to see Caitlin approaching, confirming she also witnessed a giant black dragon with lava flowing through its veins. Caitlin walks towards him, her expression grim as she tries to make sense of the shared vision. Karak the orc chimes in, also having seen the dragon. Shutra is stunned, realizing, so, everyone saw the same vision, huh? Caitlin confirms it. It seems so. I'm not sure what this means, but Her gaze turns towards the anvil, her expression hardening with resolve. She stands before the forge and states, "What's certain is that we'll find out if we use the forge." With unwavering determination, Caitlin reaches out and places her hand directly on the ancient anvil, intending to finish the activation herself. The instant she makes contact, a violent, dark purple energy erupts from the forge, engulfing her completely. Caitlin is trapped within the maelstrom of chaotic energy, struggling against its overwhelming force. She grits her teeth, crying out as the dark power surges through her, causing unimaginable pain. Seeing his sister in agony, Shutra screams her name, desperately pleading for her to stop. Unable to stand by and watch, he reaches out, determined to pull her from the dangerous torrent of energy. The moment he makes contact, the dark energy immediately lashes out, engulfing him as well. Caught together in the violent blast, both Shutra and Caitlin scream in agony as the rest of the party looks on in horror. Their companions cry out their names, powerless to intervene as the chaotic scene unfolds. Shutra lets out a final, piercing scream as the overwhelming power surges through his entire being. But rather than being destroyed, something within him awakens. A new power, identified as Conqueror, reveals itself to be the very mana of the Earth Dragon Enkidu. He understands now. This isn't a gift, but the Earth Dragon's harrowing trial for those who are uninvited, a test of worthiness he has been thrust into. As the violent energy coalesces within him, his eyes begin to glow with a purple light, and a single, powerful concept floods his mind. The name of this newfound power, conquest. This newfound power is not merely destructive force. It is the very essence of dominance, the act of ruling made manifest. The wave of purple energy washes over Shutra's companions, who brace themselves against the immense pressure. As the overwhelming aura finally subsides, the party looks on in stunned silence. The energy recedes, revealing Shutra kneeling on the ground. He has absorbed the power, and Caitlin is now safe behind him. Caitlin looks at her brother, his eyes still glowing with a menacing purple light, and whispers his name in a mix of awe and concern. The scene abruptly changes, shifting to a desolate, red rock canyon where an orc encampment is nestled deep within. High on the cliffs above, a lone scout watches the camp under the dim light of a starry night sky. The scout, a red-skinned orc, carefully surveys the area with a spyglass, taking note of every detail. Down in the camp, a leader scoffs at their enemy's attempt to hide. An underling asks for the command to strike. The scout reports back to his leader, kneeling respectfully. "Just give the order, Lord Yokozun." The leader is revealed. A formidable, red-skinned orc with a long white beard, identified as Yokozun, the great chief of the Red Thunder tribe. With a look of cold authority, Yokozun issues his command, "Everyone, get ready." A cruel grin spreads across his face as he gives the final order to his massive army. "Let's go clean up the remaining stragglers." The chapter ends on a menacing cliffhanger, revealing the full might of the Red Thunder tribe's army as they prepare to march. The scene opens on a desolate battlefield where an army of green-skinned orcs, allies of Shutra, are on the move, but they are completely unaware of the danger that is about to descend upon them. Suddenly, a strange sound from above startles two of the orcs, their faces filled with confusion and alarm as they look up towards the sky. A massive fireball, an attack from the enemy, hurtles down from the sky, aimed directly at the unsuspecting green orc forces. The fireball makes impact, erupting in a violent explosion that engulfs the battlefield and sends orcs flying. The fiery onslaught continues, with multiple explosions ripping through the ranks of Shutra's allies, throwing them into chaos. A powerful blast hits one of the orc warriors directly, illustrating the sheer destructive power of the enemy's attack. From the smoke and fire, the true enemy reveals themselves. The fearsome Red Thunder tribe, accompanied by giant, menacing swamp mammoths. With a thunderous roar, the red-skinned orcs of the Red Thunder tribe charge forward, their bloodlust and aggression on full display as they move to crush their opponents. Amidst the chaos stands the valiant elf warrior, an ally of Shutra. He watches the overwhelming enemy force approach, a look of grim determination on his face. The elf warrior grits his teeth in frustration, thinking to himself that with Caitlin and Felicia missing, their forces are doomed to be wiped out. The battlefield is consumed by explosions as the Red Thunder tribe continues its relentless assault, pushing the allied forces to the brink of defeat. The chieftain of the Red Thunder tribe, Yokozun, laughs maniacally. He mocks his enemies, declaring that it serves them right for picking a fight they could never win. Confident in his victory, Yokozun orders his mages to hurry up and finish off the remaining survivors, their hands already glowing with magical energy. But just as the mages are about to cast their spells, their magic is mysteriously neutralized. A dark, purple energy envelopes one of the mage's hands, who wonders in shock why he can't move. Yokozun's smug expression instantly vanishes, replaced by one of pure shock as he senses that something has gone terribly wrong. One of the Red Thunder tribe's own swamp mammoths begins to glow with an ominous purple aura, a sign that control over the beast has been wrested away. A close-up on the mammoth's eye reveals an intense, glowing purple light, confirming that it is now under someone else's command. The Red Orc warriors look up in confusion and fear, completely bewildered as their own war machine turns against them. The dominated swamp mammoth unleashes its fury, causing a massive explosion within the ranks of the Red Thunder tribe. The tide of the battle has turned in an instant. The once mighty Red Thunder tribe is now being decimated by their own rampaging beast. From a clifftop, Yokozun watches in disbelief as his army is thrown into chaos, and his guaranteed victory slips through his fingers. Enraged and confused, Yokozun screams out, demanding to know what is happening and why their own weapons are attacking them. The elf warrior looks on, witnessing the unbelievable turn of events as the enemy's greatest asset becomes their downfall. His initial shock gives way to a dawning realization. A thought crosses his mind as he begins to suspect who might be behind this miracle. And he is right. The scene cuts to a hand firmly gripping a mysterious object that is pulsing with immense purple power. From a hidden location, Shutra has activated the ancient artifact known as the anvil, unleashing its absolute power of conquest. The scene cuts back to Shutra, his hand wrapped around the source of this immense power. He thinks to himself, surprised that his enemies had managed to find the legendary anvil. The story flashes back to the moments just before. Shutra is in a dimly lit chamber, kneeling as the anvil in his hands crackles with an overwhelming purple energy. He stares at the artifact in awe, completely stunned by the raw power coursing through it, wondering how it's even possible. A mysterious, shadowy figure, Enkidu, reveals the true nature of the item. It is not the anvil but the Thunderhammer, its counterpart. Enkidu then tells a shocked Shutra that the legendary weapon has chosen him as its master. Nearby, the Dark Elf Princess, Felicia Doomblade, looks weary and exhausted. She is supported by her younger sister, a concerned-looking elf with a distinctive black and yellow bob. Shutra is taken aback by the revelation, pointing to himself and stammering in disbelief that he could be the chosen one. His companions, including Felicia and his loyal orc companion Karak, look on. Felicia, sensing the urgency of the battle outside, urges him to stop hesitating and use the power he has been given. With newfound resolve, Shutra tightens his grip on the Thunderhammer, accepting his destiny and preparing to wield its incredible power. As the energy flows through him, Shutra understands. He realizes that the mana flowing from Enkidu is teaching him how to use the ancient artifact. The true nature of the Thunderhammer's ability is revealed to him in a vision. It is the power of conquest, the absolute authority to conquer and subjugate all things. Now understanding his new ability, Shutra raises the Thunderhammer, ready to unleash its power upon the battlefield. A confident, almost wicked, smile spreads across Shutra's face as he chooses his first target. He decides to test his new power by dominating the enemy's swamp mammoths. From the chamber, Shutra unleashes a massive torrent of purple energy, directing his power of conquest towards the raging battle outside. Back on the battlefield, the swamp mammoths are instantly enveloped by Shutra's purple aura, their eyes glowing as they fall under his complete control. The mammoths unleash devastating attacks, creating massive explosions within the ranks of the stunned Red Orcs. Panic and chaos spread through the Red Thunder tribe as their soldiers are slaughtered by the rampaging mammoths. An orc warrior looks up in horror, frozen in place as the massive foot of a mammoth comes down to crush him. One of the Red Thunder tribe's elite warriors is effortlessly swatted aside by the immense power of the controlled mammoth. On the front lines, a green orc commander witnesses the unbelievable sight of the swamp mammoths attacking their masters. He immediately grasps the situation. Prince Shutra has delivered a miracle, turning the tide of the battle. Recognizing this as their one chance for victory, the commander rallies his warriors. He lets out a mighty roar, signaling the counterattack to annihilate the now crippled and disorganized Red Thunder tribe. With their morale boosted, the green orcs charge into the fray. They easily cut through the disorganized ranks of the Red Thunder tribe, who are still reeling from the mammoth's betrayal. Shutra's allies press their advantage, overwhelming the red orcs with their ferocious counterattack. From his vantage point, the red orc chieftain Yokuzen lets out a cry of anguish as he watches his army, once on the verge of victory, now being completely decimated. One of his subordinates reports the obvious, stating that the swamp mammoths have turned on them. He has no idea who could be wielding such an immense amount of mana to make it happen. The subordinate wisely suggests that they should retreat and wait for another chance. But the proud chieftain Yokuzen roars in fury at the mere thought of running away. Before Yokuzen can argue further, the elf warrior makes his move, crashing down from the sky and landing directly in front of the chieftain and his second-in-command. The elf warrior lands with incredible force, his eyes set on the leaders of the Red Thunder tribe. The final showdown is about to begin. In an instant, the elf warrior strikes down Yokuzen's subordinate, leaving only the chieftain himself to face the powerful elf. With his enemy's second-in-command defeated, the elf warrior turns his attention to the chieftain, Yokuzen, coldly stating that his end has come. The elf offers Yokuzen a final choice: surrender, and he will make his death quick. The enraged chieftain screams back in defiance, calling him a bastard. Consumed by rage, Yokuzen lunges forward, roaring that he will tear the elf warrior apart with his bare hands. The elf warrior remains calm and focused. His eyes begin to glow with a brilliant blue energy as he prepares to meet the chieftain's charge. Unleashing his power, the elf warrior moves in a blur of motion, striking Yokuzen with a series of devastating, high-speed attacks. Yokuzen, the mighty chieftain of the Red Thunder tribe, is completely overwhelmed and falls to the ground, defeated. The remaining red orcs watch in horror. With their leader gone, their fighting spirit completely shatters as they cry out that the great chieftain Yokuzen is dead. Panic sets in, and the rest of the Red Thunder tribe turn and flee for their lives. The elf warrior, covered in the blood of his enemy, states that all that's left is to clean up the small fry. Taking a moment to breathe, the elf warrior looks back towards the chamber where his allies are. He thinks to himself that without the help of Shutra and Felicia, they would have been in real trouble. The scene shifts back to the chamber, where the battle is being watched on a magical floating screen. Karak, the large green orc, marvels at the technology, realizing they are seeing a real-time view from the eyes of the conquered mammoths. Felicia's sister confirms that with the anvil, Shutra can control all the guardians. Felicia tries to state that the Red Thunder tribe is now completely defeated thanks to the anvil's power, but she struggles to get the words out, her voice weak. Before she can finish her sentence, Felicia's strength gives out and she suddenly collapses from exhaustion into her sister's arms. Despite being pale and gasping for breath, Felicia weakly reassures her sister, insisting that she'll be fine after a short rest. But it's clear the effort has taken a serious toll on her. Her sister agrees, and the group decides to find a safe place for Felicia to recover. Karak turns to where Shutra was standing to tell him the plan, but stops, a confused look on his face. He calls out, "Shutra?" searching the now empty space where the prince stood just moments before. But there is only silence. The chamber is empty. After winning the battle and awakening an incredible new power, Shutra has disappeared without a trace, leaving his concerned allies alone and creating a new, pressing mystery. After the intense battle, Shutra finally gets a moment to catch his breath, only to be surprised by a series of notifications. He has leveled up not once, but 3 times in a row. He looks at his status window in disbelief, amazed at how much his level has jumped. He correctly guesses that it must be the result of controlling Enkidu's artifact in the previous fight. Shutra continues to stare at the glowing screen, his mind racing to understand the full implications of this sudden power-up. He scrolls through his skills and is shocked to see that, Under the King's Banner has reached level 2, and he has unlocked a brand new skill, King's Knights. A smug smile spreads across Shutra's face. He speculates that these skills level up in tandem with conquest. He's pleased, knowing that as his main skill gets stronger, he becomes more powerful. He then examines the new King's Knight skill. Based on the name, he assumes it's a summoning type ability. With a look of fierce determination, he calls out the name, Stratus. Just then, a figure rushes out of the forest, looking panicked. It's the elf Caitlin. Shutra looks up, surprised by her sudden appearance. As Caitlin stomps toward him, Shutra gets a guilty look on his face, realizing with a start that he might have forgotten to tell anyone where he was going. Before he can even get a full apology out, Caitlin lands a punishing blow on top of his head. Still fuming, Caitlin grabs a fistful of his hair, demanding to know how he could just disappear without a word. All Shutra can do is meekly apologize. Caitlin lets him go, admitting that it's fine as long as he's safe. She tells him to get ready to go back, but then adds that they'll have to camp there for the night, much to Shutra's confusion. Caitlin turns to him with a serious expression. She explains that while leaving was the original plan, something has come up. They have a problem. Shutra's expression immediately turns serious as well. As he asks, "Problem?" The scene shifts to show another elf, Felicia, lying on the ground, unconscious. Caitlin gravely informs him that Sister Felicia has lost consciousness. The two of them look down at the unconscious Felicia. Caitlin explains that not much time has passed since she was rescued from the Red Lightning tribe, and it seems she pushed herself too hard. Nearby, a group of other elves gathers around Felicia, using their healing magic in a desperate attempt to help her recover. Caitlin tells Shutra that Felicia had insisted she would be fine after a short rest, right before she collapsed. Now, Caitlin has no idea when she'll wake up. She continues, explaining that without Felicia, they are unable to summon the phantom steed to travel. This means they have no choice but to stay put and watch over her. Shutra simply says, "Got it." But the worried look on his face shows his deep concern for Felicia's well-being. Night falls over the mountains as the second part of the chapter begins. With their plans on hold, the group settles in for the night among the ancient ruins. While the others rest, Shutra sits awake, leaning against a stone pillar. As he sits and thinks, Shutra looks down at his hands. He realizes his health has completely recovered, a direct benefit of his recent level up. He feels strangely energetic and not tired at all, a stark contrast to his allies resting nearby. As he looks around the ancient structure, he starts to ponder his current situation, wondering if he really has to wait idly until morning. Suddenly, a critical thought cuts through his contemplation. His eyes widen as a groundbreaking realization about the very place they are camped in dawns on him. His mind clears, and he remembers a key detail. He's in a ruin. Based on his extensive gaming knowledge, he knows that ruins like this must hide powerful weapons or treasures deeper inside. He also knows the downside. Dungeons and ruins are never straightforward. They are invariably filled with dangerous traps and powerful guardians, represented in his mind as shadowy creatures with glowing red eyes. As he thinks, a familiar dark purple energy begins to swirl around his fist, a manifestation of his unique power. The energy solidifies into the form of a hammer. This triggers the crucial thought. What if he wasn't just a trespasser, but the actual ruler of these ruins? He remembers the unique nature of his ability, the anvil's power. While it's limited to the specific ruin, within these walls, it grants him absolute authority. A confident smile forms on his face. He realizes that with this power, he essentially has a free pass to explore the entire ruin without fear of its traps or guardians. With a new plan in mind, Shutra quietly walks over to where his companion, the orc Carrick, is sound asleep on the stone floor. He crouches down and calls out to his sleeping friend, trying to wake him up. Carrick stirs, groggily mumbling in response. Once Carrick is somewhat awake, Shutra grins mischievously and tells him to get up and come with him on an adventure. Carrick nervously follows Shutra down a dark, torchlit corridor, anxiously asking if it's really okay for them to be wandering off into the depths of the ruin. Carrick continues to fret, worried that something might go wrong, but Shutra casually brushes off his concerns. "I'm the ruler of the ruins," he says. "So what's there to worry about?" Shutra pushes open a heavy stone door, reminding Carrick that there must be good weapons inside a place like this. Convinced by the logic, Carrick agrees. But as the door opens, Carrick gasps in terror, stammering to the prince that there's a huge monster waiting for them inside. Lying dormant on the floor of the next chamber is a massive, armored creature. Shutra calmly identifies it as an arc golem in its griffin form, a name that means nothing to the confused Carrick. Shutra simplifies his explanation for the terrified orc. "Just think of it as an incredibly strong guy." Shutra casually teases that if they had just entered normally, they probably would have been killed. Carrick, sweating profusely, urges him to stop saying such unlucky things and to hurry up. Looking at the golem's menacing size, Carrick admits he wants no part in fighting it. Shutra just laughs, calling him an unexpected coward. Carrick yells back defensively that he's not a coward. He's just being cautious. They continue past the golem toward another doorway. From the next room, Carrick's terrified shouts are replaced with cries of joy. He calls out to the prince, announcing that he's discovered a treasure vault. And what a vault it is! The room is overflowing with riches, with piles of gold coins, sturdy chests, gleaming weapons, and suits of armor. Carrick excitedly holds up a golden breastplate, exclaiming that it looks like high-quality armor. Shutra looks on and agrees that it does seem pretty good. Shutra focuses on the armor, his eyes glowing. He can feel a subtle magical power emanating from it, confirming that it's a piece of magic armor. Seeing Carrick's excitement, Shutra asks if he wants to take it. Carrick is stunned into disbelief, stammering as he asks if he can really have it. Shutra casually tells Carrick to take the armor, remarking that it's too big for him anyway. An overjoyed Carrick immediately equips his new prize and thanks the prince profusely for the generous gift. While Carrick is busy admiring his new armor, Shutra's attention drifts to the rest of the treasure. His gaze settles on a small chest and some scattered coins on a ledge, and he wonders if they could be ancient gold. He picks up one of the ancient gold coins, admiring its design before deciding he should probably store any useful items he finds in his inventory for later. He turns to Carrick, who is busy admiring his new armor, and tells him to feel free to take anything else from the vault that he thinks is worth taking. As he looks back toward the treasure, his gaze once again falls upon the small, unassuming chest. There's something about it that piques his curiosity. He approaches the chest, kneeling down to get a closer look. "What's this?" he wonders, reaching out and placing his hand on its lid. The moment his fingers touch the chest, there is a distinct clicking sound. Shutra looks up in surprise, realizing he's triggered some kind of mechanism. His eyes follow the sound, and he sees a section of the stone wall beginning to slide open, revealing a dark, hidden passageway behind it. A reddish-pink light emanates from the opening as the stone door recedes completely. Shutra stares in astonishment, realizing he's just uncovered a secret space. His face lights up with pure excitement. He can feel it in his gut. He's about to find something truly special. Without a moment's hesitation, he steps confidently through the opening and into the dark corridor beyond. He proceeds down the long, dark hallway, which opens up into a much wider, cavernous space at the very end. He stops at the edge of the new chamber, his eyes fixing on something in the distance. He spots the source of the light and lets out a gasp of recognition. There, in the center of the vast, circular room, is a floating crystalline object, glowing intensely with a familiar pink aura. He knows exactly what it is. An image of the great golem flashes in his mind as he feels the artifact's presence. "I know this mana," he thinks to himself. He finally puts all the pieces together. It wasn't his hammer. It was Enkidu's hammer, the legendary artifact known as the Earthquaker, and it's been here waiting for him all along. Continuing from the previous chapter, Shutra stands in a dark, ancient-looking chamber. Before him, on a grand pedestal, a mysterious item wrapped in a dark purple aura hums with power. Shutra recognizes the item. It's an aura-type item, the Knight of Conquest. More specifically, it's the legendary gauntlet of Enkidu, also known as the Earthquaker. Drawn by its immense power, Shutra slowly walks towards the pedestal where the gauntlet is floating. He feels an undeniable pull from the artifact, as if the Earthquaker itself is calling out to him. He reaches his hand out to take it. But the moment his fingers touch the artifact, a series of system messages pop up, rejecting him. His level, his mana, and his mental strength are all insufficient to wield the legendary item. As a final notification declares his strength insufficient, Shutra looks on in disbelief. He can't believe that after all this, he still can't handle the item yet. Just as he falls into despair, the gauntlet begins to resonate, glowing with an intense energy of its own accord. Suddenly, a voice rings out, granting permission. A new system window appears, announcing that the Earthquaker has recognized Shutra as its master. Shutra is completely taken aback by this unexpected turn of events, only able to utter a confused, "Huh?" The system confirms the transfer, changing the Earthquaker's registered user to Shutra. A powerful golden energy surges from the gauntlet into his arm. The sudden influx of power is overwhelming, causing him to cry out as the golden light intensifies around him. The powerful aura swirls violently around his entire body as the gauntlet completes the process of binding to its new master. A close-up on his face shows his red eyes glowing, filled with a newfound power and determination. Shutra stares at his hand, now clad in the formidable gauntlet of Enkidu. He can't believe it actually acknowledged him as its master. And the benefits are immediate. A system window notifies him of a massive stat boost. Strength, mana, and stamina have all increased by 10 points. Shutra is amazed. Just equipping the item raised his stats this much, a feat that would normally take a significant amount of training. Holding his fist, which glows with a brilliant light, he can't help but smile. The power is incredible. He's ecstatic, realizing the Gauntlet of Enkidu is an even better item than he had expected. Just then, a voice calls out to the prince, asking what just happened. Shutra is startled to see his orc companion, Karak, standing nearby. Shutra stammers, asking Karak how long he's been there. Karak replies that he saw everything, right up to the moment the prince made the gauntlet disappear. Shutra awkwardly confirms that Karak saw it all, while internally groaning that his inventory ability has been exposed. Karak leans in, his expression turning serious as he warns Shutra that it could be trouble if word got out about what he just did. Shutra is taken aback by the sudden warning, looking at his companion with a mix of surprise and concern. To Shutra's surprise, Karak grins reassuringly. He tells the prince not to worry, and that this secret is just between the two of them. Shutra is moved by Karak's unwavering loyalty. Seeing that the prince has gotten what he came for, Karak suggests that they should head back. Shutra readily agrees, admitting with a smile that the eerie ruins are giving him the chills and he'd rather not stay any longer. With their objective complete, the two decide to leave the treasure room and make their way out of the ruins. As they walk back through the dimly lit chambers, Shutra follows close behind the large orc. However, Shutra suddenly stops in his tracks as something off to the side catches his eye. He quickly calls out for Karak to wait, who turns back, annoyed and asking what the matter is now. Shutra urgently points towards a pile of treasure, asking Karak if he sees it. Karak, however, looks confused and asks what he's supposed to be seeing. Shutra excitedly declares that a particular item in the pile of loot is exactly what they need right now. The scene shifts to another part of the ruins where Shutra has found his companions. He gives the item he found, a mana recovery potion, to the weakened dark elf princess, Felicia Doomblade, who quickly drinks it down. As the potion takes effect, a brilliant green light envelopes Felicia. Shutra holds her steady while Karak and the blue-haired elf, Caitlin, watch over them. The light fades, and Felicia's complexion has returned to a healthy color. Her eyes flutter open, no longer looking drained and exhausted. Shutra supports her and asks if she is feeling any better. Felicia looks up at him, still a bit dazed, and weakly says his name. Caitlin rushes to her side, overjoyed and thanking goodness that her sister is safe. Felicia, confused, asks Caitlin what happened. With a smile, Caitlin points to the empty bottle in Shutra's hand and explains that he brought a potion of mana recovery for her. Felicia is stunned. She clutches her head, wondering where on earth Shutra could have possibly found a rare and valuable mana recovery potion. Shutra gestures broadly, asking her if she's forgotten where they are. His casual confidence leaves Felicia speechless. She looks around and it dawns on her. That's right, they're still inside the ancient ruins. Shutra puts on a confident smirk and gives a thumbs up. He proudly reminds her not to forget that he is, in fact, the master of these ruins. He tells Felicia not to worry and to get some rest, reassuring her that once she wakes up, her mana will be fully restored. As he speaks, Felicia quietly says his name, causing him to turn back to her with a questioning look. With a blush on her cheeks and a look of sincere gratitude, Felicia thanks him for saving her, creating a moment of connection between them deep within the ruins. Their mission complete, the group finally emerges from the darkness. They step out into the open just as the sun begins to crest over the mountains, signaling the dawn of a new day and the end of their perilous journey through the ruins. As the sun rises, the group finally arrives back at a large military encampment. A booming voice echoes across the camp, announcing their long-awaited return. The voice belongs to a large, red-skinned commander, who greets them with a wide, toothy grin. He laughs heartily and pats Karak on the back, boasting that he knew from the very beginning that the prince and princesses would succeed. He congratulates everyone on a job well done. As the commander speaks, another man loudly clears his throat to get their attention, causing Shutra and Felicia to turn and look. Felicia recognizes the man as Chris, a muscular warrior with long blonde hair and sunglasses, who continues to clear his throat dramatically. With all eyes on him, Chris finally begins to speak, a thoughtful hand on his chin. He looks towards Felicia with a slight blush, trying to act cool as he compliments her on a splendid performance. Felicia smugly flips her hair and strikes a pose, casually replying that it was nothing much. Shutra watches her act, amused by how smug she is. Chris tells the party to get some rest while he finishes up, but as he turns away, he adds that their mission isn't over yet, much to their surprise. He looks back seriously, informing them that the remnants of the Red Thunder tribe are still out there, but he vows to have them dealt with within half a month at the latest. Hearing this, Shutra thinks to himself that a half-month delay means he gets a nice 2-week vacation. But his hopes are immediately dashed as Felicia leans into his ear and whispers, "Vacation, my ass," startling him. Completely flustered by her sudden closeness, a blushing Shutra can only stammer, "WH what?" With the warm light of the sunrise behind her, Felicia gives him a knowing smile and reminds him that the two of them still have work to do. The scene opens on a bright, sunny day, overlooking a vast, dense forest that stretches towards a range of majestic mountains in the distance. Suddenly, the tranquil scene is broken. A young man with white hair and pointed ears, Shutra, cries out in shock as he's struck by a blast of blue energy. The powerful blow connects, sending a shockwave of energy across the panel. The force of the impact is immense, shown by a blinding flash of light and energy. A woman with long, dark blue hair and pointed ears, Caitlin, appears. She urgently shouts Shutra's name, warning him to pull himself together or he'll suffer. Shutra is thrown backwards by the force of the blow, landing hard on the ground with a pained grunt. Lying on the dirt, his face bruised and beaten, Shutra complains to himself. He knew it would be tough, but this training for the Beast Fist art is seriously brutal. A recap panel explains the situation. The something Caitlin had mentioned before was none other than this intense Beast Fist art training. Shutra recalls the start of his training. For the first 5 days, it felt like he did nothing but get relentlessly beaten up. As time passed, he began to improve. Only after a full week of training did Caitlin's punches finally start to become visible to him. And so, the training continued, leading up to the present moment. The 11th day. Back in the present, the training battle rages on. But now, Shutra is able to react, blocking Caitlin's powerful strikes. Caitlin smirks, impressed. "You're starting to keep up quite well now," she says. Shutra grins back with newfound confidence, retorting, "After all the beatings I've taken, it's about time." As night falls, Shutra reflects on his progress. He realizes that thanks to the daily special training, his Beast Fist art and aura levels have both reached a respectable level 5. Caitlin smiles, pleased with his growth. "Good," she says. "At this point, you should be ready to begin the Beast God Fist art." Shutra's face lights up with excitement. "Really?" he exclaims. Caitlin confirms, admitting she's impressed and has never seen anyone learn this fast before. A determined glint appears in Shutra's eyes. He's ecstatic that he'll finally be learning the secret technique of the lycanthropes, the Beast God Fist art. Under the night sky, Caitlin faces Shutra and takes his hands. "From here on," she announces, "I'll teach you a new way to wield aura." Caitlin looks at him intently, instructing him not to miss a thing and to follow her lead carefully. Shutra looks back, his expression serious and focused. With a confident smile, Shutra agrees enthusiastically. Their clasped hands begin to glow, enveloped in a swirling blue aura as Caitlin prepares to guide his energy. A massive pillar of brilliant blue aura erupts from their joined hands, surging outward with immense power. Shutra closes his eyes, concentrating on the torrent of energy. He can feel Caitlin's powerful aura flowing through him, not just as a raw force, but as a guide, beginning to show him the true nature of this power. As the aura flows through him, Shutra analyzes the new sensation. He realizes this power is similar to the Beast Fist art he knows, yet fundamentally different in its nature. Floating in a cosmic void, Shutra comes to a realization. This power has a name: conquest. He feels the essence of this power course through him. It is the power to conquer and force obedience, a ferocious, domineering force unlike anything he's wielded before. As he floats in the bright, ethereal light, the energy begins to surge around him. Shutra is completely immersed in the experience, wondering to himself, is this what true aura is? As the thought crosses his mind, the intense energy begins to dissipate. As the lesson concludes, system messages pop up in front of Shutra's vision. A clear sign of his progress, they announce that the levels of his beast fist art and his aura have both increased. Caitlin looks at him, her face beaming with pride and excitement. "Amazing, Shutra!" she exclaims. "You really did it." Shutra stands confidently as a final notification rings out, confirming his success. He has officially acquired the Beast God Fist art at level 1. He looks down at his hand, feeling the residual power. He now possesses 2 new skills, the Beast God Fist art and another named Earthquaker. He clenches his fist, the raw power crackling around it. He can feel the immense strength now at his command. As Caitlin watches, a vortex of energy swirls around Shutra, kicking up leaves and dust from the forest floor. And with that surge of power comes another reward. A loud ding announces that his overall level has increased to 14. A smug, confident smile spreads across Shutra's face as he basks in his newfound power. But as Shutra celebrates his victory, he's being watched. Hidden behind a large tree, a burly orc observes him with a serious expression, thinking to himself, "Now's when it truly begins." The orc continues to watch as night turns to day, indicating a time skip to the next morning. The next morning, at a military encampment, the scene shifts to the inside of a tent where Shutra and Caitlin are having a meal together. Breaking the silence, Shutra speaks up. "Oh, right," he says, getting Caitlin's attention. "Can I ask you something about Felicia?" Caitlin asks what he wants to know. Shutra gets straight to the point, asking, "Why are things between her and Chris like that?" Shutra thinks to himself about his plans. Felicia, a striking dark-skinned elf with white hair, is supposed to be a key ally he needs to bring to his side, just like Chris. He worries that if their relationship is strained, it could become a problem for him. Caitlin hesitates for a moment before answering. "It's not that they're on bad terms," she clarifies, "but they seem distant. It's not like there was some direct incident between them." Caitlin continues, but Shutra presses her for more information, asking, "Then what?" Caitlin offers her theory, though she admits she isn't certain. "I think it has to do with something between Chris and Sylvan." The name catches Shutra completely off guard, and he repeats it in surprise. "Sylvan?" Caitlin's expression hardens as she immediately chides him. "Even if he's not here, you shouldn't just throw his name around so lightly." Shutra, realizing he's touched on a sensitive topic, quickly apologizes, explaining that the name just surprised him. Shutra's mind races as he processes the new information. He now understands who Sylvan is, Felicia's twin brother, Sylvan Doomblade. He recalls from his past life playing the game that Sylvan was a pretty troublesome opponent. Just as Shutra is about to ask more, their conversation is cut short by a new arrival. The muscular, blonde-haired warrior, Chris, enters the tent, announcing, "Both of you are here, huh?" Caitlin is visibly startled by his sudden and unexpected appearance. Stammering his name in surprise, Caitlin asks, "See, Chris, what's going on?" "You're early." With a confident grin, Chris gives them a direct order, "Pack your things." He explains that their current mission wrapped up quicker than expected, and they'll be leaving this afternoon. Shutra, caught completely off guard, can only respond with a confused, "Where to?" Chris chuckles, amused by his question. "Are you seriously asking that?" he says. "If the matter's done, we need to report in, of course." Later, the group gathers outside to say their goodbyes. The imposing red orc, General Bandal, shakes Shutra's hand, thanking the princes and princesses for their hard work. With a look of respect, General Bandal bids him farewell, saying, "I look forward to the day we meet again, Ninth Prince." Shutra smiles warmly and replies in kind, showing the bond they formed. "And I'll be waiting too, Bandal." With the farewells concluded, Chris turns to the group, ready for the next step. "Now then, shall we head out?" he asks. Shutra enthusiastically agrees. A determined fire burns in Chris's eyes as he announces their grand destination. "Let's go!" To the Demon King's castle. The scene dramatically shifts to a colossal, Gothic fortress looming under a blood-red sky. The Demon King's castle in all its ominous glory. Inside, the vast and empty throne room is steeped in shadow. The long, dark silhouette of a figure seated on the throne stretches across the floor. The chapter concludes with a menacing shot of the Demon King himself, a massive figure clad in dark, imposing armor, sitting silently on his throne. The journey back to the Demon King's castle is described as a straightforward one, as several ghostly figures are seen speeding through a dark forest. The plan is to first move to a long-distance teleportation circle, and then use transfer magic to go directly to the castle. However, the nearest teleportation circle is a 3-day journey away, a trip that requires them to camp outdoors instead of stopping at inns. Sitting by the fire, Shutra admits to himself that he feels a little nervous, knowing they will finally arrive at the castle tomorrow. He reflects on the castle's current political climate, which is divided into 3 main factions: Zephyr, Baikal, and Anastasia. The factions are led by the second prince, Zephyr Ragnaros, who is known as the Demon King's worst enemy, and the first prince, Baikal Ragnaros. The third faction is led by the fourth princess, Anastasia Nekrian. In the ongoing struggle for the throne, the order of birth is meaningless. This is because they both inherited immense strength from their mother's side, the Draconian clan. Shutra muses that if one had to be chosen as heir, the more moderate-natured eldest son, Baikal, would probably be the better choice. But he knows that such a choice is ultimately meaningless, because after a certain day in the future, a day of immense slaughter, everything is destined to change. Knowing what's to come, Shutra is determined. That's why he must prepare for everything he possibly can. His first step is to raise his level until he can fully wield his powerful gauntlet, the Earthquaker. He resolves to make maximum use of the new strength he's gained. Thinking of his new skill, King's Knights, Shutra examines the skill's details. He has access to a Knight Commander, Knight Training, and even a special skill to summon the commander. He wonders if it's some kind of guild system. Covering his mouth in shock, he realizes the skill comes with buffs, Knight Training, and even summoning. It's a seriously broken skill. A greedy smile spreads across his face as he imagines how strong the skill will become at higher levels. Just then, a large green-skinned orc with white hair appears behind him, revealing Shutra's location. The orc, Karak, yells at the prince, asking why he's still awake when he needs to sleep to be ready to leave early in the morning. Karak tells him to hurry up and come over. Shutra chuckles, noting that Karak has come at the perfect time. With a wide, sparkling grin, Shutra turns to his loyal companion. "Want to try out an experiment with me?" he asks, his eyes gleaming with mischievous intent, ready to put his new skill to the test. Karak stammers in confusion, looking startled by the prince's sudden and unusual proposition. What is it?" he asks, completely unaware of the power he is about to receive. Shutra begins the experiment, calling out to the mighty orc warrior Karak. A glowing golden sword materializes before him. With the sword, Shutra taps Karak's shoulder, formally declaring, "I hereby appoint you as my knight." A powerful blue aura immediately envelopes Karak, who lets out a cry of surprise and feels a surge of energy. Trembling from the influx of power, Karak tells the prince that the sensation feels strange. But then, his expression changes to one of firm conviction. He declares that his loyalty towards Shutra has risen, and a status window confirms his new title, Knight Commander Karak, a rank 1 soldier. Shutra celebrates his success with a blush and a triumphant laugh, ecstatic that the skill worked just as he'd hoped. Karak, still overwhelmed, notes that while it's good he's overflowing with strength, he has no idea what just happened to him. Shutra grabs his newly empowered knight, his own eyes gleaming with excitement, and asks, "Don't you want to become the strongest orc in this world?" He eagerly explains his grand ambition to raise Karak into the mightiest orc emperor from the Game Knight saga, someone strong enough to rival the dragon race. Karak can only stare, dumbfounded. The next day, the group arrives at their destination, a dilapidated, ancient tower standing alone in a sunlit forest. Inside the tower, Shutra, Karak, and their companions, including the lion-like warrior Chris Moonlight and the robed Caitlin Moonlight, approach the glowing teleportation circle. Chris flashes a confident smirk and asks Shutra if it's time to get going. With a calm and determined smile, Shutra simply replies, "Yeah." Shutra takes the first step onto the teleportation platform, causing the runes to glow brightly. Soon, his entire party is standing on the circle, ready for departure. The transfer magic activates, engulfing Shutra and his companions in a blinding flash of blue light. A massive pillar of light erupts from the tower, shooting straight up into the sky as the teleportation sequence begins. The group is pulled through a swirling vortex of light and energy. Shutra reaches out as he's pulled through the disorienting stream of light. He cries out as the chaotic journey through the spatial leap continues. The prince is sent tumbling through the bright, empty space of the magical transfer. Shutra stumbles out of the teleportation light, landing unsteadily in a grand hall. He looks up, disoriented, to find his party surrounded by a group of dark elves who had been waiting for their arrival. One of them, a woman with long purple hair named Felicia, steps forward and asks with concern if he's all right. Shutra, looking a bit overwhelmed, manages to reply that he's fine. Before Felicia can get a proper answer, her subordinates rush to greet her, shouting her name excitedly. They had clearly been waiting for her. They shower her with praise, exclaiming how beautiful she is. Shutra watches the reunion from the side. A different white-haired elf is also surrounded by a group of adoring dark elves, who chat happily with her. Shutra observes the scene with wide eyes, thinking to himself that it feels like he's watching an idol fan club. He correctly guesses that these are her attendants and subordinates. Meanwhile, another group greets Prince Chris and Lady Caitlin, happy to see them again and commenting on how lovely Caitlin has become. Shutra gives a wry smile, noticing that while everyone else has a welcoming party, there's no one for him. He then overhears two elves whispering about him in surprise. He takes a quiet step back, a thoughtful expression on his face as he processes the social dynamics. He murmurs to himself, "I think I get it now." He sees the room for what it is. He and Karak are isolated, while his popular companions are surrounded by their own factions. He now understands his rough standing within the Demon King's castle. But this doesn't faze him. A confident, almost sinister grin spreads across his face as he thinks, "Oh well, that's fine. It's all within my expectations anyway." Shutra turns to his ever-loyal knight and asks, "You ready, Karak?" He then declares with unwavering resolve, "From here on, let's start changing things one step at a time." With his fists clenched and a look of pure determination in his eyes, Prince Shutra stands ready. His return to the Demon King's castle is complete, and his plan to upend the entire power structure is about to begin. The scene opens on a towering, Gothic castle under a blood-red sky, setting an ominous and grand tone. This is the Demon King's castle, a place of power and intrigue. Inside, the camera pans across a neglected room. Cobwebs cling to the stone corners, and dusty crates and barrels are strewn about, suggesting this space has been long forgotten. In the dusty room, the orc warrior Karak suggests they unpack their things. Prince Shutra Ignas, sitting on a worn-out bed, looks around and notes that at least they have a room to themselves. Karak informs Shutra that the official event schedule starts tomorrow, giving them free time. Shutra scoffs, remarking that this so-called free time feels no different from being left to rot. Suddenly, a knock on the door interrupts their conversation, catching Shutra by surprise. A dark-skinned elf with pink hair stands at the door. She formally introduces herself as Flora Sevensword, from the Demon King's Castle Real Estate Management Bureau, here to see the prince. Shutra questions why someone from a high-level office like the Real Estate Management Bureau would visit a rundown place like this. Flora explains that it is because his public merit level has increased. Upon hearing he is now eligible to choose a new residence, Shutra's eyes widen in shock and interest. The scene introduces Isabella, an official from the Office of Public Merits. She's a poised elf with brown hair tied in a bun and wearing glasses. The scene shifts to the Office of Public Merits, where Shutra confirms with Isabella if this is the correct place to receive a new residence. Isabella assures him he has come to the right place. Isabella uses her authority, causing a magical interface to appear before Shutra. Isabella reveals that with his latest conquest, Shutra's merit level has risen to 5. A status screen displays his title as the 9th Prince, Shutra Ignas, with 15,000 accumulated merit points. The screen details Shutra's merits, including his role in exterminating the Scarlet Lightning tribe and rescuing the 7th princess. Isabella explains that his monthly stipend has now increased from 5 to 500 gold. Isabella congratulates him, noting that he is the first prince to achieve so much on his very first mission. Shutra reacts with a slightly awkward laugh. Eager to see his reward, Shutra immediately asks Isabella to show him the available residences. She readily agrees. Karak's face is a picture of utter shock as he stammers, unable to fully process the situation. Shutra and Karak stand before a massive, opulent mansion with golden gates, standing starkly against the night sky. Karak asks in disbelief, "Is this really your new residence?" Inside the mansion's grand entrance, they are greeted by Flora Sevensword, who remarks that they've arrived earlier than expected. Karak is confused by her presence. Dressed in a maid's uniform, Flora bows and formally introduces herself as an employee who will serve Shutra starting today, acting as his butler and head maid. Karak, utterly baffled, asks Shutra why a real estate agent is now their maid. With a smug look, Shutra explains that he hired her using his merit points. As they stand before the magnificent mansion, Karak mutters that the prince has certainly started talking a lot of nonsense lately. The scene shifts to the next day. Inside the opulent mansion, Karak, looking uncomfortable in his own formal wear, nervously tells Shutra that he keeps getting the feeling he needs to pee, wondering if it's just his nerves before the big event. Shutra, now also dressed impeccably in a formal suit, dismisses his companion's anxiety with a simple, "Gross, just go already." Shutra, now dressed in a sharp white formal suit, tells Karak that his worrying is making him nervous as well. A new voice compliments their appearance, causing Shutra to turn in surprise while taking a sip from his drink. The compliment comes from two elegantly dressed elves. The one with purple hair proudly asks who do they think picked out their outfits, while her friend praises Felicia for her excellent taste. The white-haired elf, Felicia Doomblade, smiles smugly, pleased with herself as she acknowledges that her efforts in styling them paid off. Her purple-haired friend turns to Shutra with a wink and a smile, telling him he looks great and that the suit really fits him. Blushing slightly, Shutra returns the compliment, telling them that they both look amazing as well. The purple-haired elf beams at the compliment, while Felicia, trying to hide her pleasure, huffs and says, "Of course we do." The seventh prince, Chris Moonlight, a tall elf with blonde hair, approaches Shutra, reminding him that this is his very first audience ceremony. Chris points confidently at Shutra, telling him that today, he is the star of the show and must present himself proudly to everyone in the Demon King's castle. Filled with newfound determination, Shutra looks up with a confident smile and agrees. As he stands before the great doors of the audience hall, Shutra thinks to himself that while some may attribute his recent achievements to luck, he is about to prove them wrong. The scene shows glimpses of the other attendees, a diverse and imposing assembly of various demon races, all dressed in formal attire, their expressions serious. Shutra's internal monologue continues with resolve. "But soon, everyone will have their eyes on me." Chris Moonlight is shown looking on with a supportive, determined expression. With confidence, Shutra leads the way, followed closely by Felicia and her friend, all walking with purpose and determination. He vows that they will all look again at the worthless prince they once dismissed. The group is seen from above, advancing towards the throne. The vast, intimidating audience hall is filled with the princes, princesses, and high-ranking officials of the demon realm, all gathered before the throne. Chris Moonlight, the seventh prince, kneels before the throne, formally presenting himself to the Demon King. Before the assembly stands the great ruler of the demon realm, an imposing figure in massive armor, seated on his throne. A close-up reveals the stern and powerful gaze of the Demon King, his eyes glowing with authority. The ruler is identified as Demon King Mitra. A courtier announces that the time has come to report the achievements of the princes and princesses. Struggling under the weight of the king's aura, Shutra recognizes the man on the throne, Demon King Mitra, father to all the children of the Demon Kings. A chilling realization dawns on him. He had forgotten that the Demon King is the one being in the castle who must never be underestimated. An oppressive, dark aura, like a physical weight, emanates from the Demon King, pressing down on Shutra from all sides. Shutra's eyes widen in strain and shock as he grits his teeth, wondering what this overwhelming pressure is. The king's powerful gaze looms over him like a giant eye. Shutra thinks to himself that just standing before him feels like his entire body might crumble apart. In his moment of crisis, a memory or vision of a divine figure appears, surrounded by golden light, speaking a single, powerful word, "Conquer." A brilliant ball of golden energy begins to form in Shutra's own hands, responding to the inner voice. The voice continues, reminding him of his own royal bloodline. "For you too are a king." It commands him to overcome the Demon King's oppressive gaze, to fight back against the suffocating pressure and subdue it under his own will. With newfound resolve, Shutra grits his teeth and begins to push back with all his might. A massive burst of golden energy erupts from Shutra, signifying a dramatic shift in power. The inner voice names the source of this strength, for that is the power of conquest. Demon King Mitra looks on, his expression one of calm surprise, as if seeing his son for the very first time. The Demon King speaks his name, Shutra, his voice echoing through the silent hall, a clear acknowledgement of the prince's defiance. Felicia, Chris, and their companion all watch in utter disbelief, their faces a mask of shock and awe at Shutra's incredible display of power. Shutra now stands tall and firm, having completely nullified the crushing pressure that had forced him to his knees just moments before. Looking down at his son, Demon King Mitra's stern expression softens slightly. He gives his approval, stating, "I look forward to seeing your future achievements." A final shot shows a close-up of the Demon King's intricate armor as the audience ceremony comes to a close. A wave of whispers spreads through the demonic courtiers. They are in disbelief, murmuring about what is happening. Never before has His Majesty called any of the princes or princesses by name during a formal audience. Even Shutra's own siblings are confused, questioning why the king would suddenly acknowledge the ninth prince, who has always been overlooked and considered to have no presence at all. Shutra reflects on the king's words. It was a simple, ordinary statement, yet it was something no one had ever heard from the stoic and distant Demon King before. And that unprecedented nature made the simple statement invaluable. A glimmer of understanding and resolve appears in Shutra's eyes. Filled with a newfound determination, Shutra looks up at the Demon King and declares, "I shall do everything I can to live up to your Majesty's expectations." The scene shifts to Shutra's residence. An urgent voice cries out, "Prince, what are you doing? Get up, quick!" Shutra is jolted awake by his loyal attendant, the orc Karak, who bursts in holding a sealed envelope. Karak explains that a letter has just arrived from the Office of Public Merits. Still half asleep, Shutra takes the letter, wondering why the Office of Public Merits would be contacting him. As he reads the contents of the letter, his eyes snap wide open in shock. Karak grows impatient and urges him to read it aloud. Shutra, however, looks at the letter with a complicated expression, unsure of how to feel about its contents. He pieces it together, realizing with astonishment that the Demon King, his own father, has personally given him a mission. The news of a personal mission from the king himself hangs heavy in the air, signaling a great change in the prince's future. Later, the blonde warrior Chris reads the mission details aloud to his companion. It's a monster extermination task to subjugate the Cassius herd. The purple-haired elf, Caitlin, realizes this means a journey to the Anger Plains. Shutra joins them, learning that Anger Plains is Centaur territory. Chris confirms this, mentioning he and Caitlin once trained there and that subjugating the Cassius herd is a yearly event. Caitlin informs Shutra that they can't accompany him as they have their own schedules, but she adds with a smile that she's confident he will manage on his own. Chris, however, takes on a more serious tone as he addresses the young prince, beginning to offer a word of caution. He leans in, his expression grave, and warns Shutra, "From now on, people are going to start paying attention to you." Chris elaborates on his warning, explaining that some people will try to approach Shutra with friendly intentions, while others will be deeply wary of his sudden rise in status. He paints a picture of the new political landscape for Shutra, filled with menacing rivals and hidden enemies. "You'll have a lot to keep an eye on," Chris finishes, his tone conveying the seriousness of the situation. Shutra replies calmly, "I know." He reflects on the significance of the king's gesture, recalling that even his powerful older brother, Zephyr, was never once called by name during a royal audience. Chris finishes his warning with a sincere offer, "So if you need any help at any time, feel free to ask me." Shutra gratefully accepts. "Thanks, Chris." As their meeting concludes, Chris adds one more piece of advice. "Before you leave, go see Felicia. She said she has something for you." Shutra looks surprised by the news. Following Chris's advice, Shutra makes his way to see the Dark Elf Princess. He arrives at her location via a teleportation circle under a blood-red moon. Inside, he finds the Dark Elf Princess, Felicia Doomblade, waiting for him with several large, reptilian creatures. She explains that if he's traveling in Centaur territory, he'll need proper transportation, and offers him the mounts. Shutra gratefully accepts the powerful-looking mounts, petting one as he thanks Felicia for her generous gift. But Felicia isn't finished. She gestures to him, saying this too. Shutra looks on, puzzled, wondering what else she could possibly have for him. She places a necklace in his hand. It holds a brilliant, glowing blue gem. Shutra immediately recognizes the precious item with a gasp. Dark Elf's tear. Shutra is stunned. He can't believe she is giving him one of the Dark Elf's sacred treasures. He knows that such an item is deeply personal, and the only way to normally obtain one is to kill its owner, Felicia herself. Felicia explains her reasoning with a proud expression. The Dark Elves are a proud race, she says. They never forget either kindness or vengeance. Her gift is a clear sign of her gratitude and trust. In a surprising display of affection, Felicia suddenly embraces Shutra, holding him close. She smiles warmly and tells him, "Take care of yourself, and return safely, Shutra." Caught completely off guard by the hug, a flustered Shutra stammers, his face blushing. He thinks to himself how he never expected Felicia to act this way as he starts to say, "Got it, Feli dash." Before he can finish her name, Felicia seems to realize what she's doing and abruptly pushes him away, leaving Shutra to awkwardly finish his sentence to an empty space. CIA? Felicia turns away, her own face now tinged with a blush. She quickly composes herself, insisting, It's nothing." Shaking off the awkward moment, Shutra stands on the teleportation circle with Karak and his new mounts. He waves a cheerful goodbye to Felicia, telling her he'll see her again. As the teleportation magic swells, engulfing the prince and his party in a column of blue light, Felicia watches them go. With a soft, gentle expression, she quietly says, "Okay," as the light fades, her farewell echoing in the empty room. A bolt of magical energy strikes down in a lush, green forest, marking the arrival of the prince's party in the Anger Plains. The teleportation light fades, revealing Shutra, Karak, and their lizard-like mounts, having successfully arrived at their destination. Karak looks around at the new surroundings and asks, "Did we arrive?" Shutra, a confident smirk on his face, confirms, "Looks like it." They are immediately greeted by a woman who has been waiting for them. "Greetings, Ninth Prince," she says, introducing herself as Karma, the ranger assigned as their guide for the mission. Karma is a formidable-looking warrior. She has short, reddish-brown hair, small horns, and the powerful legs of a beast, identifying her as a member of a non-human race. "I see. Nice to meet you, I'm Shutra," the prince replies, taking in her appearance. He notes her hybrid features, the upper body of a human and the lower half of a beast. "Yes, Lord Shutra. It's an honor," Karma says with a respectful bow. Shutra identifies their guide as a satyr, and with the introductions now complete, the party is ready to begin their mission. With the introductions complete, the party wastes no time. "Then let's get moving right away," they decide, setting off into the rugged plains. Karma's powerful hoofs pound against the dry earth, kicking up dust as she leads the party at a rapid pace. As they travel, Karma briefs them on the journey. "It'll take at least 2 days to reach the Centaur settlement from here," she explains. "I plan to travel with as few breaks as possible. Is that all right?" Shutra agrees without hesitation. "No problem." Shutra rides alongside his guide and asks, "By the way, are there no other soldiers?" Karma replies that since the mission came so suddenly, it's just the two of them for now, in addition to his companion Karak. Karma adds with confidence that they'll soon have the centaurs on their side, so they won't be outnumbered. Shutra listens, realizing this will be a large group fight. With this new information, Shutra begins to strategize. He considers that the weapons will be the real problem, and since it's likely to be a mounted battle, a spear might be the most effective choice. As they continue on their way, Karma suddenly comes to a halt, her keen ears picking up a strange sound in the distance. "What's that sound?" Shutra asks, noticing her change in demeanor. Karma tells him to wait there and that she'll check it out. She dashes off with incredible speed, leaving Shutra and Karak to watch from their mounts. The Satyr Ranger quickly covers the distance, moving with expert swiftness across the plains. Moments later, Karma returns, but her confident expression has been replaced by one of pure shock and fear. This can't be," she stammers. Her eyes are wide with terror as she looks back at a massive cloud of dust on the horizon. "The Cassius herd," she cries. "How did they find us already?" The herd stampedes towards them, a terrifying pack of shadowy, wolf-like beasts with furiously glowing eyes. The creatures snarl and howl, their monstrous hunger clear as they charge forward. Caught in the path of the stampede, a lone centaur flees for its life. It screams in terror as one of the vicious beasts from the Cassius herd closes in, leaping for the kill. A close-up captures the centaur's face, contorted in a final scream of absolute horror. The beast mercilessly slams into the centaur, the force of the impact sending both tumbling to the ground. The attack is swift and brutal, ending in a cloud of dust. The sharp claws of the wolf-like monster dig into the earth as it lands, ready for its next prey. Another centaur watches the carnage in shock, then turns to see Prince Shutra sitting calmly atop his mount, seemingly unfazed by the attack. As the Cassius herd approaches, Shutra looks on with a wry smile. "Looks like the welcome party came early," he remarks with chilling calmness. A brilliant golden light begins to emanate from Shutra's hand as he prepares for battle. "Well, no matter," he says, his confidence unshaken. His hand is now fully encased in the powerful energy of the beast fist art. A wide, eager grin spreads across his face as he declares, "Because I was just itching for a fight myself." The chapter ends on this thrilling cliffhanger, with Shutra and his party facing the ferocious Cassius herd, and the prince more than ready to meet them in battle. Continuing from the last chapter, Prince Shutra Ignas confidently challenges the approaching monsters, telling them to "come at me." A nearby centaur, part of his escort, looks on with shock, wondering if this bold young man is truly the prince. One of the creatures, a massive, wolf-like beast known as a Cassius, slams its clawed foot into the ground, ready for battle. The entire pack of Cassius monsters reveals itself, letting out a ferocious roar as they prepare to attack. With glowing red eyes, the lead Cassius lunges forward, charging directly at Shutra. Shutra smirks, completely unfazed by the charge. He correctly identifies the attacking creature as the leader of the pack. Shutra's companions, Karak and Felicia, arrive on the scene. They shout after him in alarm, warning him that it's too dangerous to rush in alone. Riding a raptor-like creature, Shutra waves off their concerns, telling them he's fine and that they should just watch him work. He leaps from his mount, diving straight towards the pack leader. As he descends upon the beast, Shutra declares his intention to test out the powerful beast god fist art he's been practicing. He lands gracefully, kicking up a cloud of dust as he braces for impact. A brilliant, golden aura begins to coalesce around Shutra's fist, crackling with immense energy. The Cassius monster lunges forward with its jaws wide open, attempting to bite Shutra in half. Shutra's eyes glow with intense focus as he prepares to unleash his devastating attack. He unleashes his special technique, the Fist of Explosion. The punch connects, creating a massive, fiery explosion on impact. Karak and Felicia look on from a distance, their faces a mask of pure shock and disbelief at the incredible power Shutra has just displayed. The force of the blow tears the Cassius monster apart, sending blood and debris flying. Shutra stands triumphantly over the mangled corpse of the pack leader, the ground scorched around him. The remaining Cassius monsters are stunned into silence, completely terrified by the sudden and brutal death of their leader. They let out a frightened whimper, their aggression replaced with fear. Shutra examines his still glowing fist. He wonders if the power of the Earthquaker item was responsible for amplifying his aura to such a destructive level. Even he seems surprised by the outcome, noting that the destructive power of his attack was far greater than he had expected. A wide, confident grin spreads across his face as he blushes with excitement. He proudly declares that this level of strength is almost on par with his powerful sister, Caitlin. His companions and the Centaur Scout are amazed, praising him for blowing the beast's head off in a single strike and thanking him for saving them. The Centaur Scout, impressed by the prince's power, formally introduces himself as Swift Wind. He announces his mission, to escort Shutra's party safely to the Centaur settlement on the Engel Plains, setting the stage for their next destination. Following Swift Wind's guidance, the party arrives at their destination, the sprawling Centaur settlement on the Engel Plains, a large village of yurt-like tents nestled in a valley. As the group finally arrives, an explanation is given about the 4 great centaur tribes that inhabit these plains: Fierce Wind, Heavy Rain, Raging Flame, and Rough Night. A formidable-looking centaur with a red beard welcomes Shutra and his companions, acknowledging the rough journey they must have had. The powerful centaur introduces himself with an air of authority. He is Savage Eyes, the high chieftain of all the centaurs. Shutra's internal monologue kicks in. He instantly recognizes the name Savage Eyes from his past life as a gamer. In the Game Night Saga, this chieftain was an unavoidable encounter in the Demon Realm chapter. He recalls that, in the game, Savage Eyes was never a character you could side with. He was always an enemy, A menacing, shadowy image of Savage Eyes as a powerful boss flashes in Shutra's mind, a reminder of the threat he represented in the game. Back in the present, Karak whispers to Shutra that the chieftain's glare is as deadly as his name suggests. Shutra, however, reminds himself of his own royal status, refusing to be intimidated. Savage Eyes wastes no time with pleasantries. He looks intently at Shutra and asks for his assessment of the current situation with the monsters. A close-up shows Shutra's determined expression, his red eyes focused. He is ready to give his report. Inside one of the large tents, Shutra gets straight to the point, telling the High Chieftain frankly that the situation isn't good. The two stand over a large map laid out on a table, with Savage Eyes pointing to a specific region as they discuss strategy. Shutra explains the issue. The Cassius herd, which should normally be far to the north by this time of year, has instead come much farther south. Savage Eyes reveals his plan of action. In 3 days, he will gather the warriors from all 4 tribes for a joint subjugation campaign against the beasts. As Shutra listens, he internally reflects on the situation, noting that scouts are observing the area. He reminds himself that, in the game, Savage Eyes was an unrecruitable NPC that could never become an ally. Savage Eyes declares with confidence that once the might of the 4 tribes is united, they can crush the beasts no matter where they are. An image of the 4 tribes' warriors flashes behind him. Shutra considers that perhaps, with his intervention, things might be different this time. Out loud, he agrees to wait for the campaign and asks if there is anything else. Savage Eyes stops him, addressing him directly as the 9th Prince. Leaning forward with an intrigued look, the High Chieftain asks if the rumors he's heard are true, that Shutra smashed a Cassius's skull with a single punch. A confident smirk appears on Shutra's face as he confirms that yes, it's true. Internally, he resolves that this is his chance to turn the unrecruitable Savage Eyes into an ally. Eager to prove his worth, Shutra extends his fist and boldly offers to give the chieftain a demonstration of his power later. Shutra's inner monologue reveals his strategy. He plans to make Savage Eyes his ally, just as he successfully did with Caitlin and Chris. The chieftain's expression shows he's clearly intrigued by the prince's confidence. Savage Eyes accepts the prince's bold offer, stating that he'll look forward to the demonstration. As their meeting concludes, night falls over the Centaur settlement. Later that evening, as Shutra and his party walk through the camp, the surrounding centaurs whisper amongst themselves, recognizing him as the 9th Prince. Karak leans over to Shutra and playfully teases him about his growing fame, comparing it to the General Bandal incident. Shutra just laughs, enjoying the light-hearted moment after a long day. Following his companion's advice, Shutra gets some rest, sleeping soundly in a bed inside his tent. He murmurs in his sleep, but his rest is disturbed by a sudden, intense green light that begins to glow above his head. His eyes snap open as the brilliant light fills the tent, waking him from his slumber. Shutra sits bolt upright in bed, shocked to find that the source of the light is the mysterious item on his arm, the Earthquaker. He stares at his arm in bewilderment as tendrils of energy erupt from the item, wondering when this thing attached itself to him in the first place. From the light, a mysterious, ethereal woman with green, leaf-like hair appears. She addresses Shutra by his full name and title, 9th Prince Shutra Ignis. Shutra can only stare in wide-eyed shock, the brilliant green light reflecting in his eyes. The mysterious spirit turns slightly, her back to him, and makes a direct and urgent plea. I require your assistance. The full scene shows the glowing spirit floating in the air above Shutra, who remains sitting on his bed, stunned into silence. Shutra finally musters the courage to ask, "Who are you?" As he asks, a caption reveals her nature. She is a fragment of the Watcher Ankle. The panel highlights the details of her otherworldly appearance, from her flowing green clothes to her glowing, ethereal legs and feet. The beautiful, plant-like spirit reveals her face, adorned with small antlers, and gives her name, the Green Wind, leaving the chapter on a major cliffhanger.